Wow. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to Series E Apex Legends and our first show of 2023. Hit the sparklers, all the celebrations. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back. It's so exciting to be back here, kicking off a brand new year of Series E, and I'm just excited to be here once again. My name is Yesa, for those of you that don't know me, your host here for Series E week after week, and it's a pleasure to be back. The holiday beard in full effect is going to get to live on at least for a few more days until we have to trim this sucker back. But I had a wonderful holiday. I hope you all did as well, with your family and friends. Hope it was safe and enjoyable, and I hope you are excited to get back into the swing of things, because it's right back here to business on January 4th. It's Apex Legends here tonight. We got Pro Night ahead of us with a ton of incredible Apex talent coming here to compete, and of course we finish out the rest of the week with even more fun. We've got Guilty Gear Strive tomorrow night, ton of talented players there coming back, and then of course Multiverses, our inaugural season of Series E Multiverses, returns for action this Friday afternoon. So a packed few days of fun here, and we're certainly looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. For those of you though that may be new, I want to break down just how Series E works so we're all on the same page. Now, Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles. As I already mentioned, we've got Guilty Gear Strive, Multiverses, and of course, Apex Legends. Now, the way that it works is players and teams come and compete in our open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series E. And what does that mean for them? Well, players will get the opportunity to sign a contract. They'll get signed by one of our partnered brands. They will earn a monthly salary and get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex Legends, of course, it's every Wednesday night against some of the best pros from all across North America. So if you and your friends want to find out how to get involved, need more information, whatever, head over to esportsarena.com today. It's got you covered. You can answer all your questions right over there. Now, of course, as we turn our attention to tonight's competition, of course, a lot of teams looking forward to LAN, the first split here of Year 3 of the ALGS. Finished up right at the start of our holiday break. We found out who was going to be representing all the different regions on LAN, and of course, if you may remember, Team Esports Arena won the regional finals for Apex Legends here in North America with one of the most dominant match point performances we have ever seen this year so far, only topped by Moist Esports there in APAC South. But it was a 5-game absolute demolishing of the lobby, and Team Esports Arena heads to LAN in London very, very soon. We're very proud of them and excited to see them perform. But of course, our teams here, our Series E partnered squads, looking to make an impression themselves, looking to start preparing for the next split, as a lot of that talent, of course, not going to LAN, trying to push their way into Pro League. And of course, Series E is a big opportunity not only to earn that cash, but to continue to grind your teeth and work on improving against some of the best talent in North America. And we're looking forward to seeing those teams compete with some of those talented players and talented pros. So we're looking forward to that here tonight. My good friends Vicky Kitty and T Squared will be bringing you all the action here tonight, and they are ready and raring to go. And I'll be here to break things down in between, check out some highlights and more. But let's not waste any further time, folks. It's the first broadcast of 2023. Let's get into it.
Almost big Matt Pickett vibes from back in early seasons of Series E. Now Slepon taking a lot of damage, and I mean,
the shots are starting to connect. The board does, and they're going down. Sung making the thing sang right there.
As he hopped back on with Nerf. Nerf looking like they want to close in another fight. Forsey with the shots, and goodbye to
on this doorway and those windows, and they should be able to fight it out. Meanwhile, Intel getting into another battle, clear way across the map. Intel breaking.
Mike and Ike are getting aggressive. They got first knock. Actually, Z Davis once again with that charge rifle, but Bronzy.
No, Eccentric from above as well.
You see what Eccentric's up to. They're making the flank on down below to E1. Put it on the maybe a 2-on-1. It is a 2-on-1.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year's and welcome to the first Series E of 2023. I'm Vicky Kitty, and I'm happy to have T Squared join me for the cast today after it's been forever. And you know what, T? I gotta say, your holiday beard also growing in fantastically right next to Ye. So I gotta get on my beard game too, so that way I can match you guys.
You do. You got to grow it out, Vicky. It's not that hard. Just look in the mirror and just start going, and then like my hair will pop out somewhere. But it feels good to be here. It feels good to kick the season off with you. A great intro from Yeso talking about what happened. Esports Arena, the team Esports Arena, really popping off. I'm excited to see what these teams are bringing in store, see if there's going to be any meta changes. We also saw the heirloom from Seer coming out. It's like, yeah, well, let's make this guy more played in Apex Legends. Let's give him an heirloom now. Hopefully they give him an heirloom and then nerf him. That's what I really hope.
That's the tradition, though. That's what happened with Valkyrie. Remember, that's when they gave her. Even though Valkyrie's still amazing, that's what happened. They dropped the heirloom. They gotta get the nerf in. Gotta squeeze what you can out here when it comes to some awesome-looking heirlooms. Where's Fuse's heirloom? I'm still waiting out here, but I'm really excited to see how those patch notes are looking like, especially since we're also looking forward to LAN here with some of the teams that we have on our hands that we're gonna be seeing actually perform in LAN tonight for our Series E Pro Night.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome to see what these guys are going to be able to do today because we have been waiting for some competitive Apex. It's the first tournament basically of the year, and if you're not familiar with the Series E format, well, check it out. It's your typical ALGS format. First place is going to be $1,200 all the way down to third place for $200, but it's all about getting those placement points and kill points. You're going to be doing 1 point per kill, and everyone wants to make sure they're getting into that final circle, right? It's about the cash. It's about getting that practice in. That's why teams like Esports Arena were doing so well because they're here consistently in Series Z, putting in that work, and the Pro Night is usually the best practice that they're going to get for the week.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a lot of our teams come out here. I mean, of course, we have other teams that we're going to show you the list eventually. Here we go. We got the Guard coming out here, too. It's always nice to see them also perform. As you guys could see, though, we are missing one team, so the lobby is going to be 19 squads in total today. But some changes have gone down throughout the holidays, T. And I'm looking at some interesting ones, seeing that FaZe doesn't have Albert lately anymore, actually, right now. He will be playing today for CLG, but you see that FaZe between Snipedown and SlurpyG have incorporated Naughty into this roster for tonight.
I think that's smart. I mean, the thing is about this team, they don't really have a major shot caller. Naughty's going to have to come through. Alberle was that guy with the experience, right? He was going to be able to call where the zones were, where everyone's going. You're looking at 3 Slayers there. So FaZe is going to have a similar playstyle, or should have a similar playstyle to G2. But Naughty knows what he's doing. He played on C9 for quite some time. We take a look at the partner teams. You can see everybody looking solid. I am craving Mike and Ike's right now. Someone send me some Mike and Ike's. Connie, help me.
I love Mike and Ike's. I actually ate so much Mike and Ike's one night. Oh man, I had the craziest sugar rush out here. Love some Mike and Ike's. I love seeing our 5 Series E teams out here as well. Of course, Team Razor, Team Tyson, Team Intel, Team Aegon as well. So it's going to be a nice stacked lobby for a lot of our squads to also kind of iron out what they need to iron out to figure out what they got to do to stay on top.
Another team that's a team to look out for is Team Slept On, right? Because you sit there and you look at another team that is up and coming, and what are they going to be able to do? Because when it comes to having orgs, etc., Top Gun roster directly above them, that's another team that was formerly G2. G2's out of Apex now. Their team is still sticking together. I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do. Hopefully they're in negotiations with another organization, but it's going to be an exciting lobby. You mentioned the Guard earlier. That's going to be fun to go and watch, but I love seeing what Alberle is going to be able to do on CLG. Hit the nail on the head. Let's see what this squad's going to bring to the table, because CLG is one of those squads that's very consistent, but they always fly under the radar, right? They don't come and just like dominate lobbies, but they seem to be consistently inside the top 5. They have unorthodox playstyles. What are the compositions going to be? Are we going to see Fuse, Vicky? Are you going to be stoked if we see Fuse? I hope we see it. We know we're going to be playing World's Edge. We know we're going to be playing Stormpoint. Fortunately, no Broken Moon, no zip lines going all over the place. Zip zippy zuzade. No thanks. I'm out of there. Tripods, looking forward to watching them play too. Nick Merckx has been playing, I think, very, very well, especially for the amount of years he's been playing compared to everybody else coming to the game late. And they're really showing up. They've been, improving week after week, and I'm glad to see them here.
I love how you mentioned Broken Moon. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of PTSD from your ranked experience out here when you mentioned the zip lines for the third-party opportunities. I see you, team. But, also talking about some teams that we also get to see here, like Dark Zero, 100 Thieves, also getting in that practice that they need to get into before getting involved land. So seeing a lot of these teams that are very familiar after their performance in the Pro League go down and face off against our 5 Series E squads. It's going to be a good time. And I like how you mentioned we are starting on World's Edge before we transition onto Storm Point for the final 3 games. We've been seeing some teams actually in the Pro League mix things up a bit. Some teams opt to go for what they feel more comfortable with to stay consistent between both maps, but other teams that we've seen actually in the Pro League kind of change things up a little bit. We've been seeing a lot more of the Bangalore and Bloodhound composition now when it comes to maps like Storm Point.
Yeah, Bangalore has been very popular, especially in other regions, so it's interesting to see a legend that hasn't gotten any tweaks, nerfs, buffs, nothing. It's just, okay, this legend's been around since the beginning of Apex. Let's start playing her. It's really weird how that ends up working out. It's like people didn't know how to play Bangalore before, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this legend's really good. Personally, I think that there's stronger compositions that you can bring to the table. I still think that Valkyrie Seer Horizon comp is just so OP. When you look at what Seer's going to be able to do, it's almost impossible to not want to have him on your team. Playing them, kind of boring. Resident Sleeper for me. I'm not scanning everywhere with my controller. Leave that to the mouse and keyboard players. They're cracked at it, all right? It takes me so long to look around, especially because everyone's playing on 4-3, and we know that. But I like the mystery sub. Who's the mystery sub on DZ? Is it their coach? Is it PvP coming in as the mystery sub?
I want to know. I gotta know, especially since Dark Zero out here, they've been putting in the work. They were last squad to actually make it into Pro League in 10th, actually going into that. So looking at what they got in hand for us, I wouldn't be surprised if PvP just kind of finagles his way in there. And I also like how you mentioned the different comps that we've been able to see in the Pro League. I believe at the moment the teams that have been able to qualify into LAN have been 7 Horizon teams. So even though a very strong pick, we've been still seeing a lot of diversity when it comes to different comps that we've been exposed to throughout the Pro League across multiple different regions between the Watson, the Cryptos. Not so much Caustic unless some teams are trying things out, but it's just always so interesting to see how so many other regions also make that diversity work for themselves. Of course, the one legend that we have been seeing as kind of a mainstay pawn for a lot of these other squads and their comps has been the Valkyrie, because that Skyward Dive really does come in clutch, but that doesn't mean we haven't seen Valkyrie-less compositions. I just feel like it is way more common to see the Valkyrie nowadays when it comes to the different comps.
Well, a lot of teams are sitting on the edge trying to gatekeep you, so that's where the power of Valkyrie comes in, because you rather just avoid that fight. Teams are waiting to pick off kills, and they're going to have the advantage, so why risk that fight? You're going to be on the edge anyway, so you might as well just try to make your way into the zone. Or say you want to get early into the zone, it's another great way to go and try to take the height away from teams or go and take the God spot. So I still think Valkyrie is extremely viable. Again, I think Valkyrie Seer Horizon is going to stick around in the meta for a while, but this is the opportunity to go and try things, right? If you want to try Crypto, you brought up Crypto Watson. Can't even forget about Newcastle, kind of replacing Gibby overall. So that's another composition that you can go and look out for, because realistically, they bring a lot to the table. When you look at what each legend's able to do, it fits your play style. And, if you like very, annoying gameplay, you're going to play Caustic. All right? If you want to play really aggressive and fly in the air like MJ from Mike and Ike, you're going to play Horizon. So it really just depends on what your style is going to be. We know that G2 is going to play a very aggressive Horizon. Chaotix nasty on it. He's going to have the R301 with the 2X or the 2-4 almost every single time. They're going to be playing the edge. It's just a matter of what are these new rosters' play styles going to be. What's CLG's playstyle going to be? Are they going to be getting into the middle of the zone like they typically do? Are they going to be, landing Harvester like they typically have in the past? What's Albarelli going to bring to the table on there? What's Naughty going to bring to the table on FaZe? And then looking at the other squads that we haven't really talked about, you have Protectful and his team, Kubsky, Pro, and Avery. Looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do. Kubsky's always great at shot calling and getting into the middle of the zone. So that, again, goes back to what legends are you going to play? That has been their playstyle since the beginning of this, since they started to compete. So I'm not expecting or anticipating them to change anything up. And I feel like Crypto, Watson, Valkyrie, that type of style is very, very strong. Granted, you are having 2 recon scan legends when it comes to getting onto the beacon, but that's still something that if you get into a good spot, you can hold things down. So there's a lot of different options, and it's a very interesting meta, and we're going to be having more legends, more diversity coming through as more seasons go along. We haven't seen Catalyst really pick up momentum like it should be. I think that a lot of people are a little hesitant to play that, especially because there's been a little bit of issues here and there when it comes to the scans and the wall, and a little bit of, is that actually blocking my scans or not? What's happening when Seer's on the table? So there's a very interesting dynamic that comes when you have so many legends that are viable.
I do think that once Catalyst is more nailed down and understood, I do think that Legend is going to have a pretty high skill ceiling. Only time will tell for legends like that. I have been seeing a bit of discourse between a lot of pro coaches and pro players kind of discuss their thoughts on Catalyst overall and the utility that Catalyst brings to the teams. And I like how you mentioned the double recon too, because obviously between Valkyrie and Seer, the Valkyrie does provide information when the Skyward Dive is activated, only when you're in the air like that. But the Seer having that tactical, just being able to also cancel reses, cancel heals once you have the advantage to prevent a reset from happening, as well as just a scan from looking down your sight. It's just so strong to have as well on your team, because it's basically constant flow of information. I mean, at one point we saw in the Pro League, specifically Dupe on the Seer playing, hiding for his life as a rat, finding the opportunity to third party with the last two squads fighting. And because the last two squads didn't have a Seer, they didn't know where the rat was. I believe it was 100 Thieves in front of them, as we just get set up and we get all our squads loaded into this lobby. Things like that could be so important, because that allowed Dupe, being the rat for Optic Gaming, to actually clutch up that game and take that game for Optic Gaming, who weren't doing the best actually for this first split here. But taking that dub definitely lifted some spirits, and also put things into perspective for the squads that don't run a recon character that can immediately turn around, scan whether you're Bloodhound, or turn around, hold that tactical if you're Seer, if you don't want to reveal what side you're holding a tree or nice cover. So it's nice to be able to see that different diversity played out. But Tom, let's not waste any time. This is the first Pro League, rather Series E Pro Night of the year here for 2023. Let's dive into our first game.
Let's do it. And that's a great point about Optic Gaming. And one of the things that comes to mind about Optic is they were one of the first teams to go with the popular meta in the championships that we saw with Valkyrie, Caustic, and Gibby. So when you think about what they were able to do and how long they were comfortable playing that, they're probably hesitant to adapt because they were so strong on those particular legends. Why switch things up? But that's the reality of things. Or if teams are doing really, really well with certain compositions, it's time to maybe bite the bullet and say, you know what, I guess we're going to do this too, as we take a look at Aegon by AOC, landing over towards Big Mod, which Vicky has the best loot, some of the best loot in the game. You can see Skull Piercer coming in right there. I'm sure there's a team landing Lava City if they didn't end up splitting that badly, but they do have an opportunity to get those gold weapons. We'll find out what those weapons are going to be very shortly. Shuby Tubi with the first knock. Pow Pow coming in as well with a knock on to King Drew. So we do have a 50-50 taking place.
Already choosing violence this early in the year. You know what? I'm living up for it here. So many of these other squads are already facing off in some of these 50-50s that we can imagine right now. MPS with Madness being on the low, already trying to reset, but they got a squad on the low ground right now. And with the Havoc from that far away, you know what? I always love picking up the Havoc, especially today. I was getting griefed earlier, and I saw in the replicator that the turbocharger's in there. So you may not be able to get it right off the rip, but you will be able to replicate it eventually, and that's always nice to see. But not nice for KHG to start off this as just a solo.
Find out where their next landing spot's going to be, because this didn't go according to plan, and Crazy Ninja's going to have to do his best Optic Gaming impersonation, as he's just going to be hitting scans through the wall. But we know who likes to land over here. That's CLG, so he's not going to be too stoked about what he finds out here very soon. And speaking of unorthodox compositions, look at this. Wraith coming out. Mad Maggie and then Caustic. This is definitely interesting. No scans coming through in terms of hitting the beacons, but you do have a lot of chase potential. You also have a lot of setup potential with Caustic, and a couple of get out of jail free cards, right? You're going to have the Maggie Wrecking Ball going through. You're going to have the Wraith Portal that you can potentially use. But CLG may be lined up for a free kill if they can find it. Fortunately, they're too busy crafting. Maybe a turbocharger for you.
Yeah, right? Maybe we'll have to see. I mean, I don't see it right now in Mamba's loadout to work with the Havoc or Devo, but gotta give a shout out to Alb's tag right here. Olympus Enjoyer. I myself am a big Olympus Enjoyer, and with the Warden herself, the Mad Maggie pick, I like how you pointed out how unorthodox this comp has been, but sometimes we have been seeing the Mad Maggie used up a little bit in the Pro League, especially looking at EU too. So it's been very interesting to see how that's been able to work out for some of these squads as we take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling. We got ourselves a northern circle, and that's going to be cool because we see sometimes that circle pull towards those outside houses on the outskirts of Climatizer to the south of where you see the guard actually flying right through, trying to pass through Epicenter. But I do think that the beacon, if there is one at least in Epicenter, could be contested. Just going to have to see how some of these squads are going to approach.
Yeah, and the team that lands back there is going to be Team Mike and Ike. We're talking about the Mike and Ike Enjoyers. That's going to be us. But I love to see how teams that have the home court advantage end up playing this one. It's going to be a very up-close and personal composition coming in for Psycho. He's got the R9, not really going to be able to hit shots. They do get the Valkyrie down to no shields, but when you're playing this type of loadout, it's just going to be impossible to land anything. Hopefully he can find an R301 for himself here very soon. But this is going to be a tough rotation. They're fairly behind all of the teams. They're just going to have to loot up, probably play the edge over here, and maybe hope for some kills for teams that try to rotate over towards Overlook. But there was a lot of teams rotating over towards the Climatizer side already. One of the fastest teams that we saw was Protectful and Kubski's team. I believe they were landing Geyser. They were already out of there. Aegon by AOC was out of there after landing over towards Big Mod, and this is the team we were talking about. They're already making the rotation. Unfortunately, they didn't see the minimap like we did. There are a lot of squads in the area. Nice little area for Kubski to go and hide, and let's see if he can just get his shields back temporarily. Someone needs to start laying down some shots. It's going to be DZ on the other end of the building.
And we still see it as mystery sub. They're trying to get into a nice position to stop Protect Kubski from getting protected at the same time. Cub goes down here over to the side. Dark Zero now trying to give the suppressed fire. Jen needs to watch out to his back, though. Overextending just a little bit. Here comes the guard. We just saw them take the skyward dive, and they made the rotation outside of Epi.
They're not going to be too stoked to find out they have a crypto of their own coming through. A bank shot off of the wall. Kobe coming in, but we'll see if they can get the knocks that they need to clean up DZ. This is two great teams going at it inside a priority building, and they make that one look easy. Kubski kind of baiting out DZ right there, and you can see how desperate he wanted to get back inside of that building. Great job from the guard being on top of it, and that's going to be the domino effect that you see in Apex Legends. You also have another fight taking place with 100 Thieves and Mike and Ike. MJ, MVP from the previous season of Series E, is going to pick up some big kills there. He does need to heal, but you can see how fast they were able to drop down onto 100 Thieves. And we've seen teams play that lower area. It's trash. You never want to be down there.
Yeah, and two of our invited squads are already the first out of the lobby here, too. That's 100 Thieves out here. Dark Zero out as well. And that also just shows how volatile the start of this game has been for so many of these other players that want to station themselves not only underneath this beacon, but to also deny this space from other squads, especially the squads like the Guard, who are rocking the crypto. That squad that's right in front of them, because with the beacon actually right on top of Mike and I currently, you know that that beacon is going to be contested by these squads that could scan the beacon with the drone without having to overextend themselves and take that information so that way they can plan their next move.
And that fight that was taking place between Guard and DZ just replayed on the stream because we have a little bit of delay to protect the competitive integrity. And wow, Keon flew in there on that Watson, just running past Arc Stars, putting in some serious damage. That's two really good back-to-back fights that we just witnessed. One of them from the team on your screen. Mike and I can take a look at the overhead map coming through. Great job from production pulling that one up. Look at Crazy Ninja, Vicky. He's kind of made his way. Look at that. He is a crazy ninja. This guy maybe even likes Halo. 117 coming in the name. Nick Merckx and his squad may be able to scout them out, but that's not within seer distance. And he may be able to milk some points here. Nice job from our boy Crazy Ninja.
I could see Tripods rotating from the south and avoiding Crazy Ninja here, counting his blessings. But you know what? That's what we like to see, a rat play going in. The Exterminator has not been called in yet as we tune into MPS. They see the squad that's actually right in front of them. Maybe could be that squad that we saw earlier exiting out of Overlook here as MPS are now trying to rotate around them.
I don't know if that tree like ate some of those shots, but those look better than the amount of damage that we got coming out from Madness. Newcastle Wall is going to go down. CLG kind of in the middle of the open right here. Their composition isn't built for this. They cannot stay up here like this. You can see a lot of different angles where they're getting shot at. Nano feels like he's safe right there, but Vicky, there's absolutely no cover over here, and everyone's going to have to basically be covering a handful of different spots. That's the problem with this hill. Look at the amount of area that you have to stay focused on. At a certain point, you just say, yes, let's send it on this team shooting us because I'm tired of it. And we got an aggressive composition, so let's just move forward.
All right, got to show off the EVA 8 skin real quick out here. It's going to be Lily who's trying to make the initiation, but he can't fully send it in yet because both Nano and Mamba took a lot of damage traversing through that open ground. The Wrecking Ball was conserved, so they could have used it to close in the gap, but now they're going to fully push into Lily. He gets aimed from outside the building and no suppressed fire, which allows MPS to have the number advantage now in their favor, and they're going to finish him off. They know that nobody could shoot them thanks to the Newcastle wall.
And they don't even have a seer. They just sniffed him out.
Yep.
Mickey maybe just needs to pop on some deodorant or something like that because they definitely found out where he was immediately. Most likely they just saw him walking up to the building, but unfortunate there for Albrily and CLG. I'm just not a big fan of the composition. I know it's a random, situation here in game 1, and there's plenty of games left. They'll probably win game 2 and make me eat my words with the same exact composition, but I just don't see it. I personally don't see it. I feel like it's a random arena squad.
Yeah, at least, especially actually just thinking about it, even Stormpoint-wise, it still wouldn't do them justice just because of the fact that Stormpoint has so much of that open area, open ground in general, which is why I've been seeing so much of the Bangalore. But then that's where the Wrecking Ball comes into place. You could at least utilize that to close in the space. And at this point, it could be very risky with so many squads that like to play on the edge of circle or that are in the middle of rotating slowly. Trying to push into that fight and then not expecting to get third party would be crazy at this point here too. So it's just unfortunate timing to try to push in that moment, as Slepton is actually another one of the teams that are on the outskirts of this circle. They're by no name currently, just trying to rotate on the outside of Overlook.
Here comes the chopper. Mickey, I know you're a big fan of the blicky and the do and the chopper, so we'll see what they're going to be able to do with this Spitfire. Massive in the back pocket. Looks like my Massive coming in from Psycho. Absolutely zero damage as Snipetown's going to punish that one. One more player remains in phase, getting eliminated by Slepton, but the damage has been done. Aegon by AOC going to move up, cancel the res coming through, and now they are on the hunt.
I know we all feel those hot 11 sometimes after we get shot by the Massive. We take one more down with us. The Aegon now trying to just completely filter out all the rest of these squads. Any last stragglers that are trying to play on the outside of that circle. All the KP, all the free loot, and a nice gold R99 for them to work with, as well as that red evil shield that you're going to be able to heal up with that shield back.
Yeah, nice job getting the red armor too. I don't know if he actually worked for that one or if he took that one off of the box, but yeah, 285, that's not your armor. Orioles with passion. We know that you grabbed that from somebody else, but either way, one more team knockout, and we're going to be moving into the placement points. Our boy Crazy Ninja 117 is probably still alive, milking the points for as much as possible as Shubi continues to light up the kill feed. It's the second knock that we've seen him get. And KHG, I jinxed it. The caster curse is real.
No, and you were just talking about him. Shubi, of course, also being one of the star players out here from MPS. He's been able to put in some work. Here comes ESA, though, one of the teams to watch and have been able to put in a lot of work in the Pro League. Lose out on Luda right behind them. They have somebody trying to go in for their flank, and Capra can't do much with the Volt right now. It's Top Gun roster that are going to be able to close in the gap.
And this is G2. What kind of names are Johnny Hammersticks is the most ridiculous name I've ever seen. And you have to say it like that every single time. Chinstrap Destroyer. What are these guys on? No one knows. But, hey, some good kills. MPS now on the move. And we were talking about, like, weird compositions and stuff. You know, CLG, I'm sure they got a plan, right? MPS, I'm sure they got a plan. And I'm all about it, man. I want to see the weirdest stuff. Like, the most random legend roulette composition that you can come up with. I'm all about it because it makes things interesting, but I love seeing the Pathfinder coming out here. I'm a big fan. You know who I miss is the guy that we saw on Mad Maggie, Albrily, the best Pathfinder I've ever seen in my entire life. Just one time, I want to see him busted out.
I know you dabble with the Pathy too out here. Okay, I see it. I wonder what the comp and plan is for MPS, but you know what? Shubi said, I'm out here, I'm having the time of my life, and now we're going to be able to tune in to see where the circle is going to be pulling. Because it's not on the outskirts of the building that we were expecting where the guard actually taking that real estate. It's actually pulling towards where Mike and Ike is, where they've been holding down this building for the second circle.
It's going to be a knock on to Washi coming through. Nice little armor swap coming in for Wizard Coin as well. Borasco on this squad now. It's going to be exciting to see what he does. Kansas City native, not that far away from me here in St. Louis. Dude's an absolute monster when it comes to laying down the call-outs, and you can see how on top of everybody's awareness is coming through. Is Wizard Coin's going to do some nice damage with the 30-30. Not the ideal situation in terms of scopes, but he's going to make it work there as they're still continuing to lock down this building over towards Climatizer. Remember, they're the team that lands over here. They were able to get beacon scanned, find out exactly where this zone's going, more importantly, hold it off and pick up some kills along the way.
And also destroy some drones to prevent other teams from being able to get that same sort of information. They don't have the crypto, so they still have to overextend, whether it be with the Valkyrie or the Seer, to get that information with the beacon. I mean, look at this on the minimap. Yeah, Mike and I can't see it, but they could definitely hear how congested the skies are with the crypto drones just flying around, trying to find the opportunity to be able to get that beacon for the next circle.
I heard you like alt excel, so we gave you 3 wizard coin. He's got 3 of them. It's completely unnecessary, but hey, I love to see it. He doesn't even really need them until late game, and that's what's so great. You could share those with your teammates. You could use them for yourself, unlimited scans, and that's exactly what they're doing. Going to pass that one on over to MJ, so if he needs to get that black hole coming up a little bit faster, they're going to be in a good spot. And you can see Barasio's dancing around trying to gather information right here. This is what's so important. You do not want to ever stand still in these instances. You have to have a presence. You have to consistently run around and make sure that nobody is creeping up on you. And if they do, you got to lay down cover fire. If they sense weakness in your setup, they're going to continue to push that. And then next thing you know, you're in a 3v3 that you don't want to beat. Because realistically, you don't want to take a fight over here. And speaking of not wanting to take fights, holy melt coming in for tripods. That's 2 members immediately down. And they're going to take control of this donut building. Cyril's already down from Nick Merckx, and this should be just a matter of time before they shut down the final player, and that's it. Tyson is done. Protected Club, they're down as well. 9 squads out of nowhere. Blink of an eye, right? I feel like we're just at 16.
Yeah, Team Tyson literally landed on tripods, and it was like a silver platter coming in late for Noche Buena here on Christmas Eve, and they ate that entirely up. Mike and Ike in some trouble here, too, with Wizard Coin just trying to run away. The young legend, only 17 years old, just trying to stay alive for the rest of the team. It's Top Gun roster. Like you said before, what kind of names is that? You get a beamage with a car from far away, and they finish up Team Mike and Ike. 8 squads now left in this lobby.
Johnny Hammersticks coming through with the shots. Nasty car shots. I mean, that's not your typical shots from that type of distance with the car. Got the Digi-Threat in the back pocket. We haven't seen any Bangalores quite yet, but Sentinels is here to provide the entertainment. They have that composition that you were talking about. It's going to be Bloodhound coming in with the scans, being able to see through all of that visual clutter and smoke. But a tough rotation going forward, right? You can see how much ground they have to work for. And there's a decent amount of teams in the area. Curious to see which team is still in that building. Could it be the Guard? Remember, they were able to take down DZ earlier.
MPS also right underneath them right here too, actually. And like you mentioned, the Guard is one of those squads that run the comp between the Crypto and the Watson. So we're gonna just have to see here, some of those fences getting destroyed. But MPS planning their move. This is what they expected the circle to pull to before we saw it pulling more towards that area here of Climatizer. But with the black market, they could loot up appropriately before they just start moving. And you're going to see Shuby. He doesn't have the zipline, but he is ready. Preemptively aiming right before opening at that door. He's got my favorite sight, the 2x4, and they're just trying to see where they could go with so many other squads also shooting at them.
Such a good sight. Remember, we were talking about how this is a poor spot to be, but now that the circle is closing in over here and Sentinels is at the spot where a team could potentially have shot this area, this isn't that bad of a spot for now, right? But when you look at that team composition from MPS, it kind of makes sense because they could all yeet forward. You have the wall that comes down from Newcastle, Loba can bracelet in, and the grapple could come in. So if they want to close the distance and close the gap, they're able to do that.
Yeets the grenade, trying to get it through the fence line. He hits 2. 50 and 90 something I saw right there. Throws out the arc star. You see the black hole coming in. They can't fully push on this because then their backs will be revealed to the squad that actually has a high ground right behind them. So they're just trying to play this passive aggressively while the circle pressures out that squad from revealing themselves.
Yeah, the smokes coming through kind of didn't do them anything. It almost hurt them because that was kill opportunities coming through. So a little bit of a mistake coming in from Senox, but maybe they just wanted to avoid the fight overall. I feel like they could have did some serious damage right there, but rotation coming in from MPS. They're on the wall. Good shots coming in from Crusts and possibly a scan, but they're going to scan their back instead. They're not worried about their front. They're more concerned about a team dropping in on them, and they're just going to gatekeep the team in front of them.
I like this too because also the Beast of the Hunt hasn't been activated just yet. You see Crust has it ready just in case. You'll be able to get more scans quicker, and with that squad playing on the outside of the fence, they already know where that squad has their limitations to rotate through. It's all about that information from the squads that are sharing this building right now, and with the circle pulling away from this building, it's going to look like a bloodbath real soon with our remaining 8 squads.
And that's what the hard part is Guard has made their way into the God spot. They left the building where MPS was, then made their way forward. You can see MPS at the southwest side of your screen. They've rotated in back behind Sentinels. And realistically, there's not much room on this southern side, Vicky. This is going to be a bloodbath right over where G2, or the former G2, excuse me, is located.
Yeah, it's super tough to see some of these teams. Team Aegon still, though, up and alive right there, right next to Kicks and Fours. Also sharing that buildings with Sentinels. The former team of G2, though, they're still able to control this left side of the building, and Aegon has the high ground with the big mod R301. See what they're going to do with this squad that's stuck between the other side of the fence line. They can't drop down from this high ground, but they will be able to have a clear way into that next circle from the high ground.
And that's the beauty of Pathfinder. Whenever you're in a tough spot, you just grapple forward, get inside of the zone. And they should be able to work that lower lava area, but this is a pretty good spot coming in for Aegon AOC. They have to be wary about the teams that are going to be able to shoot them, like the Guard. They're going to drop down and potentially take a fight down below.
Oh, Sentinels get taken out here. MPS meet them right afterwards. It's going to allow Season to still be here. Tripods, Aegon, the Guard. Now Aegon going to be able to move in this opportunity. They use a zero, but they're getting shot from the side. You have to look to your side here, too, at the same time. It's only up to Kicks to finish this off.
Kicks is moving in. I like the missile swarm coming through. Everyone's going to drop on Top Gun roster. Now the scan has came through on the backhand side. Huge thermite perfectly placed as SZN. Looks like they're going to be able to pick up these free kills around the corner. A little jump shot coming through, and that's all she wrote for Aegon by AOC. But a little bit of misplay coming in terms of the timing, right? They had everything figured out, but they were just a little bit staggered. If everyone was together, maybe they would have lived right there. But either way, great job from SCN moving forward. Guard inside of the God spot. Still Tripods on the outside looking in. Intel still alive too. You can see Icy on the outside of the trailer. Looks like they're the only team that has 2. No, all 3 players right there. So all 3 members of Intel are going to be alive, holding the trailer with the Guard.
What's crazy here, too, is just calling out how the Guard were able to perfectly predict where the circle was going to be pulling by taking the 50-50 chance of it either pulling on the south side of Climatizer or the north side, and they still were able to secure this truck away from other squads that wanted this opportunity. But Keon gets pinged from the outside of that window with other squads now making their rotation in. You see Tripods getting involved in the fight, too.
A lot of damage from Intel right there. You mentioned Tripods. They just got dropped over towards the backhand side. Hakulo going to say what's up to Nick Burks and Jet and drop them. That was the team that was a duo. So now 3-on-3-on-3. Intel continuing to share on top of this trailer. And this is what makes things interesting here, Vicky. What position would you rather be on? Would you rather be on the top of the trailer inside or on the outside where the 2 teams may potentially fight?
Oh, that's such a good question. I was going to say, you have a Watson fence line, so you can set up on the inside, but then here we have Intel doing the same thing, but on the high ground. The use of this EMP is going to be extremely important because it's going to negate these Watson fences and buy in time and space. Nice thermite coming in, burning some of those red Evo shields, trying to funnel them outside to the right side, but they're not giving up behind that truck just yet. The circle is closing in behind them, and I don't think they're going to have enough time to heal up, but Intel's going to also have to reveal themselves into the line of sight of Guard.
That was their time to go and get the kills there. Unfortunately, they weren't able to go and do so. Big shots there with the 30-30, but they're going to have to drop. And it looks like they're going to go and try to push up on the team, but the Guard is ready coming in from behind. And this is a huge play that determines the outcome of this game. Keon hits the armor swap. The shots are coming through. Double armor swap coming through as well. Reptar takes the sky, but he gets knocked as the Prowler coming through for Rambo. And the Guard somehow, some way, pulls that win off. They started off hot, picking off DZ, some serious competition there, and they finish it off. Patience is the key right there, as they were the last team to basically engage, and they take the dub.
And that also shows you how their positioning on the inside of that truck actually benefited them from taking their time to slowly inch their way into that next circle. You had Intel unfortunately force their way on the outside of that that truck, and they put themselves right into the open arms of the guard there. So great patience being displayed by the guard. Like you mentioned, I would have liked to see them at least fight for a second if possible, where they could secure KP, because either way, they would have still had to go into the guard's line of sight, but at least they would have gone down securing the KP from the team like SZN that had to hide behind that truck.
And that's, again, a comp difference, right? Because you look at the great grenades that are being placed behind the truck, but imagine if you were able to take to the sky on Horizon and then take that team down and push on over towards the truck. Granted, that composition got you to that point, and there's a handful, again, of different legends that you can play, and it's all hindsight, right? But that's just a tough spot to be in because Intel was playing that so darn well. All of the grenades were looking good, the thermites, the arc stars, the missile barrage, everything was really landing, but no knocks on the opposite side. Either way, give credit where credit's due to the guard for a very well played game, making their way over towards that Twinkie building and then going on over towards the trailer. They were the first team to go and basically predict that spot. They were one of the later teams going into Climatizer. They weren't even one of the first 5 teams to go there. So to have the presence of mind to be able to get those scans on the crypto just, again, shows you the value of what your playstyle is going to be, and if you're going to play that playstyle, how you need to play it, get into those priority positions, play patient, and that's the key to the game.
Yeah, and playing for End Circle too, absolutely huge. And with the game win on top of the 8 KP that they were able to secure, Rambo was going pretty crazy out there. He broke over 1,000 damage, so the confidence is definitely on their side. I'm excited to see how that momentum is going to carry into game number 2.
Yeah, I always picture Rambo playing like that Nick Cage like Air Force One meme, and just like his hair's like blowing every single, like in the backhand side
with his long hair, like majestic.
Yeah, with his long hair, just like super majestic. He's like flying at you with the prowler, and his hair's just blowing in the background. But you know, Rambo's been one of the biggest slayers that we have for quite some time now this year, and there's a reason why he was #1 pred. There's a reason why this team has been doing so well. I feel like their confidence is absolutely soaring. But that was game number 1. We still have 5 more games remaining. We're going to toss this one to Yeso so we can break down game number 1.
Wonderful way to start off our return here to Series Z Apex Legends in 2023 as the guard grabbed the win here in our first game of the day, and really well played. And I think an important thing to point out, because there was a good discussion that Vicky and T-Squared had there before that final fight, talking about the positioning there from Intel and the guard and which spot you would have favored, and it really comes down to the Watson pick for the side of the guard. Now granted, important to note, Intel had it as well, but the guard getting into that truck early on and having the Watson and getting that interceptor pylon down inside of the truck is what makes that entire position sustainable for the team. Intel very specifically has to play on the eastern edge of the truck because of where the circle is pulling from South Climatizer proper right there. They know all those other teams are over there, and you don't want to put yourself in between the guard and the rest of those squads. So they have to play on the east side, and that makes it easy for the guard to set up that interceptor pylon, and just makes it so much more difficult for anybody to pry them out of position, because ultimately if you're Intel, you'd like to get them out and take that position for yourself. But when they're able to set down so many Watson fences, they have the interceptor pylon down, because of course grenades are the best way to pull teams out of those positions. You have really so few tools available to yourself to try and get them out of there, and the guard can just stall and play for time and wait for those other teams to rotate into the circle from Climatizer, and that's exactly what happened. And Intel did what they had to do. They could take the top side of the truck, they apply pressure to Season. Season applies it back. Meanwhile, the guard gets to just bide their time, and then they are able to fight both teams when they aren't at full strength. So that's just a perfect executed final circle there from the guard, playing the patience that they needed to have. They got into the position, they had the resources available to protect it, and they used it effectively. So that's really just very clean, smart, and tactical play from the side of the guard, and you love to see it here. Let's jump though into our Mobile 1 high performance moment here, and I imagine it's probably gonna be this final circle finish for this game, and it is. It's Intel jumping up. They throw a bunch of nades down on top of Season to try and apply pressure, and of course the circle pushes them out. They have to drop down. The guard coordinate that push out of the truck, and the problem is Season is trying to find some sort of reset. Meanwhile, the guard get the finish on Intel, they get the armor swaps, and they can come in and deal with this team that is already heavily wounded here, and it's a very easy cleanup here for the guard. So this is just, again, exactly what the guard needed to do. They know that Season and Intel are going to duke it out because those sight lanes will be available. They just bide their their time, wait as long as possible, attack as soon as these teams are at their weakest, and they could clean them up, and they did exactly that. So just cleanly executed, smart play here in the end of this game, and it earns the Guard a win. And of course, a team that has been one of the best in North America all year long, of course, carrying the momentum from Rambo's big performance on LAN and Champs back in the summer of 2022. They've come in and continued that run. And as T-Squared mentioned, Rambo has been one of the best slayers in North America this year, keeping it rolling here into the start of tonight's competition. You're definitely going to have to keep an eye on the Guard as the night continues. Jumping into, though, our Mobile 1 leaderboard, no surprise to see the Guard up at the top with that 20-point performance. I'm not sure if they had 12. I thought they had 12 KP, so that number might not be entirely correct. We'll check on that for you folks. But at the very least, should be no surprise that the Guard are at the top, followed by Season there. Aegon by AOC, also another team that had a solid game. We got a peek at them playing up on top of the building there in Climatizer. Can be a very difficult position to hold, but they had a solid showing and are up in the mix there. But of course, the Guard, the story here of Game 1, and a team that will be keeping our eyes on as the day continues. We're going to keep things rolling into a break. When we come back, Vicky and T-Squared come back, and they've got Game 2 action for you when we return.
What am I to do with this? I'm headed to the top of the game and it's game, but I'm finna handle it. Break it down like an analyst. I'll be loading up, they wanna package this. Pray for peace, pacifist. I'm never old enough to give a promise.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for the breakdown, Yesu. And game number 1 already starting off pretty hot. We saw some early action going down for that first game on World's Edge, but it was the Guard who had a really good prediction on where that circle was going to be pulling and playing very heavily into their team comp between the Watson and the Crypto.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the acronym is for their team, but it's like HFTG. You guys can figure that one out yourself. I'm not going to talk about it here on the broadcast, but their team is nasty, and you saw what they were able to do to DZ. Jen Burton extended just a little bit. He's trying to fly back on that Valkyrie. Rambo hits him with the wingman. They all of a sudden disappear out of the Twinkie building, and next thing you know, they're in the God spot. The only team in the circle is Circle 5 was closing, and they closed it out in that final moment. But those are the moments that you play for, right? And it's really great to see Intel kicking off 2023 inside of that final zone. And there's a lot of new teams here. There's a lot of new rosters. There's going to be a lot of shakeups. There's going to be different legend compositions. We'll see who can remain consistent. That's the key. Can Guard continue to get into those final circles? Where's the next zone going to pull towards? And a team like Mike and Ike started to impress too. Unfortunately, they got lit up out of nowhere. So they need to look at where that went wrong, because that could have been a big snowball game for them. Pulled over towards their home court advantage. They weren't able to walk away with a lot of kills. The former G2 squad walked over and they got Johnny Hammersticks on. So there's a lot of really interesting play in game number 1, and I'm looking forward to game number 2.
Yeah, our third, fourth, and fifth squad right now that is in the overall leaderboards between Aegon by AOC, Tripods, Top Gun, Roster. Those three teams are doing a really good job at not only fighting their way into the building, fighting their way into the circle, but also trying to play as patiently as they could while securing some KP to make it into that final circle. But it's all about that positioning that really is what helped out the Guard, even when it came to the switch up after taking that building from Dart Zero into making the transition into that following truck that was on the north side of Climatizers. So game number 2, are we going to see another northern circle on our hands with the Guard really quick on the rotate? I'm wondering here because, of course, sometimes we obviously see the circle favor a lot of the other squads that like to play either in the middle border part of the map or whether they play more on the southern side.
Yeah, what's your favorite end zone inside of World's Edge, Vicky? I'm curious because there's a lot of different options. There's some really fun ones overall. What comes to mind to you?
Okay, so I don't know if this is a boring answer, but I really like the final circle that's south of Lava Siphon by the geyser area because I like to play a lot of edge specifically, but then sometimes for that final circle, it's specifically there. You don't know whether it's going to pull more towards the bridge between Big Mod or more towards the south side by the isolated building north of launch site. I don't know. I just think it's a lot of chaos, and Lava Siphon is really where the beef is sometimes when it comes to trying to fight for that beacon or even that top platform. So I really like that final circle. I'm not a big fan of northern circles on World's Edge because for the longest time, I think it was the first week of the Pro League, we had like 3 climatizer zones for the only 3 games on World's Edge, and I was like, all right, here we go again. Gotta go to climatizer, gotta make our way all the way back to climatizer. So I like to see that circle diversity. I do really enjoy southern circles, though. I can't complain.
I really like, watching teams duke it out and get it in over towards that spot towards Lava Siphon. I'm interested in seeing a fragment zone too, though, because it's always really fun to watch just the teams inside of the buildings and then fighting it out over towards fragment. Kind of reminds you of those like really crazy beginning to pubs, but it's pro teams and it's all at the end of the game. So definitely not similar, not a really good comparison, but something about fragment, I just feel like it's just always one of those spots to duke it out and have fun at, and I really enjoy watching the teams fight over there. But that's a really great zone that you mentioned, that Lava Siphon one, because it can house so many teams, and I think that's why I like skyhook endings. That's why I like fragment zones as well. Like we also saw some crazy end zones, like that one right outside of Trials gets absolutely nutty. Just watching teams hold that door and like 4 teams are constantly back and forth over there. You have one team that's been sitting high ground the entire time, but eventually they have to drop off. So there's a lot of different layers to that zone as well. I think that thermal station zones are probably the most unforgiving ones because that really back at thermal station zone is just tough, right? If you don't get one of those like 4 buildings, you're absolutely done for. And teams just have to consistently run over there and just yeet their way halfway across thermal station and just get shot going out through the open, and then if they fly anywhere, they're basically just griefing themselves. So a lot of diversity for sure, but we saw a lot of southern zones when World's Edge first came out, and then again you mentioned the Pro League, seeing a lot of northern zones. I hope that we get ones that kind of bounce all over the place. Countdown zones are kind of fun too.
Yeah, I don't mind countdown zones too, because then you have the mix of the squads that rotate from Skyhook Trials, and then the squads that really find a beef when they exit out of the choke point between Landslide and then meet up with the squads exiting out of staging. Usually the south side of those countdown zones is where a lot of the fragging out happens for some of the teams that clean up that KP. I like how you mentioned the north of Trials zone though, by those that kind of like that no-name area where squads that like to hang out on the north side of the train tracks benefit a lot. NRG actually predicts those circles really, really well because usually you see Sweet make the call to play by the train tracks, and it really does benefit them because it'll get them out of all the beef from the squads that are trying to force their way in. But we're going to have to just see which of these circles we're going to have on our hands. There's a lot of great circles here. World's Edge is my particular favorite map. I know I was giving a shout out to Olympus earlier because that's Alb's in-game tag right now. But I gotta give it to World's Edge, obviously still being one of my favorite maps to play on.
Oh man, I was trying to look at the compositions and find out exactly if there was any changes, but I couldn't scan through fast enough with my boomer eyes. So we'll find out if there was any changes. But this is 100 Thieves and what they're going to be bringing to the table. Another end game composition that you saw: Loba, Valkyrie, and then the Crypto. You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get the scans, they're trying to get the loot, and they're trying to rotate in towards the zone. The only thing they're lacking is like a Watson or some sort of defensive legend, but they're going to have to hold it off on their own. Here we go. Game number 2. Guard taking. Game number 1, you can see where they're landing. Over towards Landslide, going to get their loot and try to rotate extremely fast. We saw a 50-50 happening over towards Tree. One spot that is open is Dome, so we'll see if our squads that did lose the 50-50s end up rotating over there a little bit earlier instead and recognizing the situation. But this is the squad to watch after their dominating performance. I mean, they didn't get that many kills, Vicky. 8 overall. You can see 20 points, 12 for the win, 8 per kill. This is one of my favorite things about World's Edge. What is inside of the gold? It's a gold bag. I'll take that to start the game any day of the week.
Why every time I shoot down a drone, I don't get stuff like that. And I shoot them when they're gold as well, right? It's like, sometimes I'm like, is it even worth it at this point? But I always take my shots anyway out here. The guard are definitely going to be able to benefit off of that with that gold backpack too. All the extra meds you can carry out here. And Rambo already seeing that they're having some scans with the crypto drone. You can see RKN getting that information while Rambo manages to loot. But it's the quickness that the guard do this whole process with it comes to looting and making the rotation out of here, because they have the beacon in their POI, so it's just a loot and go kind of game for the guard. And we are getting another northern circle, actually, and it may not be your favorite circle that you were talking about, T. It is a skyhook circle, so there will be a lot of contention for the squads that are going to be sharing the inside of those buildings, especially that building with the beacon that you see right next to tripods.
It's definitely a fun circle to go and watch because there's just so many areas that you can lock down over here. I mean, there's almost a building for every single team, and we know these teams specialize at coexisting inside of buildings, outside of buildings. Heck, we saw 2 teams on top of one trailer. So if you're new to competitive Apex, get used to seeing some crazy rotations. It's going to be slow to start. We're not going to see many fights here to begin with, but once we get into zone number 4, zone number 5, it's going to be no holds bars. Guard, Vicky already making their way inside of the tunnel and going to make their way over to Skyhook almost immediately. So very fast rotation. You mentioned how quick they are at looting. That is key to getting out of there and getting into your spot.
Talk about some different comps here too. It may not have the Valkyrie, which is very interesting here too, because the Bloodhound obviously has the perks of just being able to get the scan through the walls, and when the Beast of a Hunt is there, you get to have even more scans. You could play very aggressive, but no Valkyrie. So one of our Valkyrie-less compositions here that Slept On is rocking right now. So they have to get on top of their rotations. It's kind of like a loot and go type of thing here, where the guard does have the Valkyrie Skyward Dive just to get themselves out of pretty difficult situations, and they find themselves pinched.
This is the team that we saw fight over towards the backhand side against FaZe earlier. And I like what you're talking about with the rotationless compositions. It's definitely still viable, but you have to be ready to fight your way through. And it's almost like training with weights around your ankles, right? Or just like, you know, weights around your shoulders. Because if you could do this and fight your way through situations, you're just going to end up that much stronger at team fighting. And I really feel like teams already know how to play Valkyrie. She's just one of those legends that you were like forced to have on your team anyway. So why not see what you can do without Valkyrie? And if you really say, hey, let's, you know, things aren't really working out, we're not able to get into the situations that we would like, you would know why that would be. It's most likely because you're not going to have that rotation legend. This is Team Mike and Ike, one of the teams with the highest kill total in the previous game. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get into that final circle, but they should be able to hopefully find some better armors over here, because that's just not the vibe. Double gray and blue, no thanks.
I love how Wizard Coin went nope, and immediately after he turned the corner, he saw a whole squad in front of him, and with the quickness, he opted to go rotate from the back end over by the overlook area, which is definitely a nice call. I'm wondering if there's a beacon in the overlook spot. That'd be great here for Mike and I, because then if they don't have that information already, they definitely will be able to get it there. But they're also just trying to take their time. They have the jump tower right to their right, so they could go in for a rotation without having to burn the skyward dive.
Guess he'll slide down to go and find some utility for his weapons. It's the first fight that we're going to see. It's going to be Sentinels getting busy over towards the epicenter side. The R9, or excuse me, the R3, the car in the back pocket. And you can see they are ready to do some serious damage. It's going to be Capra getting a knock on a 99. That's a different fight that's taking place over towards the backhand side. DZ getting eliminated, and Slept On getting eliminated as well. Phoenix Skip being popped there for Senox, and unfortunately for Sentinels, they weren't able to pick up any of those kills until now as Lux finds ESA. Phony.
Oh, wow. Now Lux getting involved in this fight, too, after ESA just came out on top from that fight here. Losing on a phony, though, doesn't mean that Capra still can't beam with the G7. He's got that purple mag and the 3-time scope, but Sentinels now still having the health advantage. They're going to be able to push in and try to close in the gap.
Oh no, outshot through the smoke there, but the res comes through, and that's the utility that they're looking for. The scan comes through right through the smoke. The team started to run away. They got separated. Knock for knock is going to be okay when it's already a 2v3 situation, and the shots from Lux looking so darn good, and Horizon's going to take on over towards the sky. ESA gets eliminated, and that is all she wrote for the team that was so dominant in that finals just a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, they ran into Sentinels, and Sentinels was completely ready. Razor, though, on the high ground, trying to answer right back. A lot of action happening over towards this epicenter side. Remember, I was talking about how slow this was going to be. Well, I guess players had another thing in mind is they're going to be rotating over towards the southern side and just duking it out.
Everybody finding the beef over by the southern climatizer, closer to epicenter area. It's those squads that are exiting out and rotating around Fragment, now trying to figure out a way to get into the north side of Skyhook, because having that position for that final circle is going to be so strong to be on the high ground. So a lot of these squads are just running into each other in the middle of this rotation, playing on the edge of the circle, which has been one of the more common ways of approaching the circle for so many of the other pro league teams as well. So with Razor also taking a page out of that book, they're going to be playing on the outskirts, maybe looking for a skyward dive before cutting their losses to see where the other squad could be.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it seems they're posturing up for. They're taking their time rotating with the zone. Still zone number 1, so they're not going to take major damage as FaZe is trying to figure out what they're going to be able to do. Interesting composition coming through. You're going to have Sniped out on his comfort pick there on the Bloodhound. Naughty is going to be playing another aggressive legend with the smokes. But it's always interesting when you see a controller team playing Bangalore, because you lose a little bit of that aim assist, or all of it basically, inside of the smoke. So a very aggressive team composition that hopefully will work out for FaZe. This is a new squad. Naughty coming from C9. I'm sure a lot of you know what he was able to bring on that team, but Sniped out coming back from Halo has been one of the big storylines, and we'll see what he's going to bring to the table here in game number 2 here very shortly. And I love watching him play Bloodhound. I feel like he wasn't really a big Seer fan. He made that very public. He hated playing Seer. He hated playing against Seer. You know how you counter Seer? Well, you can't, but you just play Bloodhound instead.
Especially if that's what you feel comfortable with. That goes down to our conversation that we mentioned earlier while we tuned into Top Gun roster, formerly known as G2. See design on the Bloodhound himself, I believe, if that is going to be critical KO here, and he's going to try to force his way in. Bloodhound for Bloodhound, scan for scan. It's about leaving your dominance. You won't be able to heal behind that door here as he forces his way outside real quick before taking a step back to reassess the situation.
And they got caught off guard. This is the FaZe team that we were just talking about, and they absolutely mopped the Top Gun roster. It's going to be Sniped down, coming with a big beast of the hunt. No hostiles detected over towards the backhand side, and they made that fight look easy, Vicky.
They tore that up worse than the way that I tore up the Kahachina for New Year's Eve. That was insane out here. Great taking off angles of positioning that FaZe was able to take right there, essentially trying to sandwich Top Gun roster too. So great quick fight for them while they make their rotation into that next circle. And while we take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling, we look at the amount of teams that have already taken up the inside of these buildings right here. 100 Thieves playing in the middle. I mean, they land on the other side of Skyhook, sharing that Trials area as well. It's going to be Tripods. Nice little sticky out here, though. The Arcstar are going to be able to land, and huge grenades coming in here for Sentinels.
And now you're starting to see the teams that want to play aggressive, and it's both the teams with the Bangalores and the Bloodhounds. They're putting in work over towards the building. Washi is the first one to get knocked. Senox unfortunately gets thirsted. That means the rest of the team is going to push out, but there seems to be a third party shooting them over towards this survey side, and if not a third party, it just seems like there's 5 teams over here either way, and shots coming in from kicks, not really landing, but Sentinels goes out, and the aggressiveness comes back to bite them, and there is a third party, maybe even a fourth party.
Coming in from the outskirts of that climatizer area. That's where all these teams have been rotating from. That's why it's been such high octane action here. And as the end are now going to try to look for an opportunity to clean up the KP that they need, get any shield swaps that they also need, as well as additional loot. Right here, you see Aculo picking up that big mod R301, one of my favorite weapons with the 2x4 scope. He's going to quickly rotate out. They put in some warning shots in the air for that squad trying to rotate from behind him. But with the circle also closing into their backs, they want to get into position to try to circle keep that team.
I'm still trying to figure out what Kahachina is, to be honest with you, or if I'm even saying it right. I'm over here. I just butchered the spelling on Google, and I found a roasting box. Is that what that is, Vicky?
Yes, it is. It's you put the pig on the roasting box, and you eat the whole pig.
All right, so whenever someone gets served, I'm going to be thinking Kahachina, because they just got served over towards the building. But that was a very impressive fight coming in from FaZe. We have to call that out, and the way that they were able to just decimate one of our strongest team fighting squads. That has to feel good. And Vicky, that's why you play the game, and that's why you show up to Series E, to build those building blocks of confidence, especially knowing that it was a team like the former G2 squad.
Absolutely. All that additional KP here for one of our more aggressive teams that likes to play by the edge season now is they're going to be able to loot and go for whatever they don't have. I mean, they basically have everything. I mean, look at Clayton's hand right now. You got the Volt, you got the Digi threat there. Yeah, now you can see through all the Bangalore smokes for the other bangs that are in this lobby right now. And they're also approaching Skyhook from a direction that they could circle keep the squads exiting out of Fragment. And they actually do see that team that's trying to wrap around them. So they can look to their 6 and in front of them to make sure that none of these squads get through their defense.
So it's one of those spots that is really nice to hold, right? Because you have a lot of opportunities and no one's going to really push from Skyhook into you. So you just lock this area down like you were talking about, watch your back, and hope that teams are going to rotate over towards you, because we saw how much action was happening over towards Epicenter, over towards that northern side of the map. Eventually they're going to come your way. If not, they're going to skyward dive past you, but at least your job's done and you have a little easy rotation going forward.
Yeah, rotation here for Skyhook, especially if you're not one of those bunkered down comp teams, is incredibly important because you want to take more of that high angle positioning to get aggressive. Unlike teams like the Guard, for example, that are rocking the Watson and Crypto, they're going to be securing themselves the inside of these buildings, or else you're going to be like tripods out here playing on the outskirts instead of the Seer ult 2. They're going to gravity lift themselves on the top of this train tracks here. Hopefully avoid some of the action from the squads that are taking shots at them from the middle part. It could be probably 100 Thieves.
Ballsy push coming in from Gent. He's going to push inside basically by himself. But you got Deeds over towards the backhand side. It looks like Nickworks is coming with the flank. The Thermite is landing. King Drew is the first one to go down. Gothi as well over towards the R301. And you can see the aggressiveness really paying off here for the tripods. This is a very important spot to hold because you can see the zone is continuing to show over towards the train station. So they're locking things down, and tripods showcasing what they're made of team fight-wise.
Huge here. The way that they got aggressive for that fight is also something that they need. It's about that momentum, that confidence here that tripods like to play a more slower approach, so getting that KP is incredibly important for them. Crazy Ninja out here trying to do it again. A barrage of grenades. He can't get a break as KHG get eliminated. Is Team Tyson now as we take a look at what they got in store for us. Got a Thermite in the hands of Kodigami. You can see the information coming in from the crypto drone, and they're just trying to figure out where they want to go to for this rotation, because they can only get that beacon with the drone, since they're just going to take up the inside of this building and play patient.
Yeah, those nades frying them like a Kahachina. No, I'm done. All right, so, but that was unfortunate for Crazy Ninja. That's twice now we've seen him stay alive, though, so I want to see him continue to put in work, and maybe they can pick up some serious points in game number 3, but that's a tough break when you're going up against tripods. They were serious about moving, and you saw the Seer ultimate coming down, but it was the confidence from Jet which was so key. The way that he was able to say, hey, you know what, we're going to move forward, we're going to take over this building, and look where the zone pulls. It's going to be one of those fence endings in between the train station and towards the big circular building where you can see a handful of teams are already locking down. Teams like Kubsky and Protectful, their squad is in a great spot. Aegon by AOC, 100 Thieves over towards the high ground are going to be in a great position as well. And then Nick Burks and his squad, Tripods, over towards the train station should be in a great spot for the next couple of zones. Now we're looking over towards the west-hand side. FaZe, Snipe Down, Naughty, Slurp, what are they going to do? You have Hakulo, Clane, and their squad, Reptar, on the east side. They're going to have to make the rotation coming through. They got second place in the previous game. We'll see if they can continue to get in the final circles.
I don't know how the Guard are so consistent with this team, but they are so good at calling out the final circle. It could very well pull, actually, on the outside of their building, that kind of neighbors between their building and the Tripods building, and that would be a huge call, because then they could actually contest all the other teams that have to rotate from the west side of Skyhook into their line of sight when they have the high ground inside of that zipline building. So we're going to have to see how that next circle pull is going to play out for the squads that don't have that information. As you can see, the sky is being congested by the crypto drone. But MPS, one of those squads that will be taking their time. They got the black market there. They know that there's a squad right on top of them, but they're not going to be giving up this space for free here. They want to wait to see where that circle is going to be pulling. As we take a look, it's actually Intel that's right above them.
Yeah, and you have options, right? You could throw the Newcastle wall and continue to walk up the stairs, but realistically, you're not looking to take this fight because you know you're going to get third-partied, and both these teams are inside of the zone. You're also dealing with some Watson fences. You see Icy and his angle is very powerful on top of the stairs, a little bit of a heady there, and that's why he's continuing to kind of strafe, crouch back and forth. But here's the play from FaZe. They're going to make their way over towards the slow side of the circle and potentially take a fight inside this building.
Oh, if they can climb their way up, it's going to be Slurp flying up. The EMP comes out. They got to back away. He takes a lot of damage playing on the outside of the door while the Watson fences paint the inside of this first floor. They're going to try to delete it at the same time. Naughty hasn't popped the medkit just yet, but he wants to push with the rest of phase.
I feel like that they made their way towards the bottom of the building. There's 17 seconds left. There's time to hit a medi, and that's exactly what Naughty does. Great fences coming in from the opposing team. But the time is running out. They can't take this fight without losing at least one member. So they have to either coexist or maybe just play their hand and play for the placement in the kills, because this is a tough situation to be in, Vicky. I mean, you could end up throwing some smokes here and maybe making your way forward, but I don't know how they're going to make it out of here alive.
I think they're waiting to see what Team Tyson end up doing too, because even if they start rotating right now with the circle closing in, they still would be put in between the squad that's holding the middle, and they actually do already preemptively rotate. They have the smoke grenades out. Team Tyson now are the team in the line of sight of everybody. They are getting fried as Cruisin is the last one to go down. It's Team Tyson that is out of this lobby with only a duo left here from Aegon by AOC. They're going to be playing on the bottom end. SCN also get eliminated, and look who we have here. It's the guard that are still inside this building. They taken up entirely here. Let's not forget it was tripods on the other side of this building here too, so they inch their way forward to make sure that they secure this building.
And this is your typical ending over here. It's going to be basically in the fence line again between train and the big circle building. And guard understood the assignment. They realized, hey, this building's going to be safe. Let's lock it down. Let's let these teams eliminate each other. You can see there's a couple of teams that are already weak. Aegon by AOC, even though they are in a great spot, still just a duo. A lot of fences and presence over towards the bottom-hand side. But they have to be careful. They cannot show that they're just a duo. Otherwise, teams are going to go and push that. But what a rotation from FaZe. They're really impressing us here in game number 2.
Yeah, I really like how aggressive they've been able to get to. And I do think it goes down to what you were mentioning before. You know, Snapdown had tried to see at one point, didn't really like it, has gone back to the Bloodhound, and they're playing a lot more confidently, less patiently, which I don't even think fits their individual player play style. So it just works better into their strengths. See how they do with 9 squads left in this lobby. CLG not having the funnest time, Alb having to pop the shield out of point. The Arcs are hiding behind the Caustic Barrels. They got to take this fight from underneath, and here comes the Wrecking Ball. Make way for the Warden.
And I don't think they realize this is a duo on the opposite side. Missile Swarm coming in on to Icy. Unfortunate for Team Intel. We'll see if they can get him back up and hit the res. But the rotation has to come in here very soon. And they've used their portal. There's only 13 seconds left to make that 10 on this zone closing. And they don't have a Valkyrie, as you can see. So there's going to be a little bit of utilization of the right side of the building coming through. Guard now making their way over potentially towards the high ground. And they're going to coexist in this building here, Vicky. It's going to be another situation. Oh, they caught the Watson on the stairs.
Oh, Intel was not ready. They heard the guard, but they weren't ready for them on the stairwell, and Intel get eliminated just like that. Guard now taking control over that zipline building. Need to move forward. The circle closing in behind their backs as tripods are involved in this fight, trying to clean up what was left of its last player. They need the KP. It's FaZe that they met up with. Deeds gets a shield swap, but he loses 2 of his teammates at the same time. He's pinched between 2 teams.
Nice fight from tripods, but it's going to end up costing them their lives here very shortly. As you can see, one player already thirsted. That's the second player going down. That's Nick Merckx getting eliminated, and MPS is going to take advantage of all of these death boxes directly in front of him. We called the fence ending, and that's exactly what it is. Guard's still alive over towards the side. 100 Thieves still has a little bit of this high ground to go and work with for the next 50 seconds and potentially picking up some big kills, and they do find at least one player. Not able to find the kill point, though, is Kubsky going to take that one away. Tripods going out in 7th place. But look at your team still alive. MPS, 100 Thieves, Guard over there. Probably Aegon by AOC could still be alive. Not quite sure what's up with CLG if they rotated over towards the bottom-hand side of the building as well. It's just kicks on his lonesome. So tough situation for them as they're going to be ratting it out. And I believe he's the only rat in the game.
Yeah, 100 Thieves also pressuring out the the last member of Tripods. Unfortunate there, but great for CLG to share some of this space on the under part right next to Protect Cub, who are going to be playing on the lower end right below 100 Thieves. The guard in a better position as Covington also reveals that he's got the white Evo shield, having to play right through that Mad Maggie tactical, which by the way does so much damage.
I low-key thought he was gonna die. I had my jaw was dropped the entire time. I thought he was done for. That was a great Q coming in from Elberly, because not only that, it was taking down the Gen along the way. 100 Thieves taking some damage. It's going to be Avex coming in from a Gears of War Pro towards the backhand side. Great shots onto the drone there. Going to drop it before the EMP goes off. CLG still alive over towards the backhand side. And, oh, big kill coming in for 100 Thieves, the convicted criminal. I believe that's going to be Vaxon. Aegon by AOC going out. Cubsy and his squad going out. MPS still in a great position over here. And you know what? Guard's been on the backhand side the entire time, but they've lost out on Rambo, and now it's looking like this could be all MPS. CLG still alive. It's going to be CLG versus MPS, and I believe one member of Guard's still there on the backhand side of Skyhook, just trying to milk his life for as much as possible. It's RKN. He's not able to do it. The full-on 3v3, Vicky. It looks like MPS has this one easily in the bag, and they take game number 2.
MPS coming out on top with a great rotation through the back end 2, preventing the guard from also being able to have a nice carefree rotation without getting pressured on both angles. MPS, though, coming out on top is always something nice to see with the squad as consistent as that.
They started off picking up the first kills in game number 1. They end game number 2 on a high note as well. A lot of different layers to their strategy that ended up paying off for them, but the timing was key throughout all of that. And you're seeing the key. Listen, you can shoot as good as you want, but you're going to notice the pro players, and what the difference makes in these type of lobbies is the timing, the patience, and the positioning. I'm sure there's a lot more that comes into the factor. Communication. You obviously have to hit your shots. If you don't hit your shots, you're not going to win the game. But what an impressive game there from Shubi, Tubi, Madness, and Pow. And I'm beginning to think they were not feeling the Pathfinder, Vicky. They hop off Path, and unfortunately, for all the Path fans, they win the game once they switch.
And with 6KP to their name, too, and I love how you highlighted the timing to their rotation, because we saw them actually rotate from the back end of where Tripods got pressured by 100 Thieves on the high ground, and with that timing and with the Newcastle comp, they were able to not only secure some extra loot off of the death boxes from Tripods, but they also were able to prevent themselves from getting pinched from rotating in that angle. So that patience are also paying off for a team like MPS to win game number 2 after they rotated out on the outside of the train station.
Oh, I got a lot taller. Let me come down a little bit more.
Nice flex, all right?
I just grew, all right? I just grew out of nowhere. I was actually trying to fix my posture, and then I realized, whoa, I'm taking over the entire screen. All right, back to what we were talking about, which has been incredible Apex the entire time. I loved that Skyhook zone. We were talking about our favorite zones, Vicky, before that started, and you could see why these zones like Fragment, Lava Siphon, like one of your favorites, Skyhook, are so darn exciting. All of the teams are alive. We did have a lot of fighting in the early game, and a lot of that was like Sentinels getting aggressive, FaZe getting aggressive, but you're starting to see what everyone's play style is, and it's starting to shine. You're starting to see compositions. You're starting to see teams like FaZe grow and get some confidence going forward, like their fight against Team Top Guns, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Crazy Ninja's up to in game number 3. Let's see if we can get that guy some points.
Yeah, the last straggler we've seen twice right now for game 1 and game 2, especially when it comes to trying to clutch out different sort of rotations that he is forced to pull. But I like how you mentioned the final circles for a lot of these teams too. We saw a lot of action go down by Epicenter from the squads that had to rotate from the east side of the map. But then you also saw squads. I highlighted them before. I don't know if I cursed them, but I highlighted how the guard is so good at predicting where these final circles were. It completely didn't pull where they predicted, and it didn't pull towards for where Tripods thought it was going to be pulling. It actually ended up pulling more towards the northwestern side of Skyhook. So I'm going to throw it over to Yeso to get his thoughts there for that final circle before we dive into our final map, or rather final game on World's Edge.
One more game, as Vicky mentioned, to go on World's Edge, but game 2 here belonging to MPS. Madness and the squad grabbing a nice win here in our second game of the day. And this is a team that garnered a ton of discussion at the start of the first split here in year 3 of the ALGS. They were one of those squads that really came out of nowhere. Might be a strong term here, but were definitely felt like they were defying expectations a little bit and had a really strong start to the split. Unfortunately, didn't quite finish the way that they hoped to, as they are on the outside looking in terms of the land perspective. But I think this is a team that has shown very, very high potential and should be a squad that people are looking out for going into the second split in the ALGS. And they came out and had a great performance here in game 2, picking up 6 kills, so not as big of a KP kind of performance, but a nice deliberate performance from the team, and they look good grabbing the win here. That takes us right into our Mobile One high performance moment. Let's check it out here for our second game of the day, the high performance moment. Thank you to our friends at Mobile One. And it's the finish here. 100 Thieves, bloodied, bruised, trying to get some sort of safety here, playing around this blue container. But here comes MPS, and it's all going to go wrong very quickly. Good aggressive push here onto the final member of 100 Thieves. They're able to clear that out. Elsewhere, there's a bunch of chaos as CLG duking it out with the guard getting into this final circle. And so now, with 3 squads remaining in both CLG and the guard severely wounded, now it's just up to MPS to clean up the scraps. They get good information here on these players. They're able to catch them out before they can get these heals off. Good beam there from Shuby to finish one, and MPS cleans up the other to grab the win, and that's how they picked up a victory here in game number 2. And now I'm curious to see where things stand on our Mobile 1 leaderboard, because the guard getting into that top 3 once again means a lot of great things for them. Not as many points this time around, and important to note, I did misread the champion squad last time around, so leaderboard was actually correct. Credit to our awesome staff behind the scenes here at Esports Arena for getting that one right. But the guard now up at 35 points, and MPS with a solid performance here. 18 points from them has them up in second place. And of course, the conversation there from T-Squared at the end, talking a little bit about FaZe. They've got some work to do here. Just 8 points through the first 2 games. Not very impressive on that front. This is a team that I think has a lot to prove. There was a lot of hype, and rightfully so, around this squad coming into the first split of the year. Huge organization, ton of hype around them, very talented players with a lot of name value, and they certainly, I think, disappointed a lot of people in the first split of the ALGS Pro League. And now they're making some changes, and we'll have to see if they can get things rolling going into split 2, and they've definitely got to get things rolling here in our next game. Vicky and T-Squared will have that game for you when we come back.
Welcome back, everyone. You may not know what year it is, but you know what day it is. It is Series E Pro Night here. It's actually week 4 as we get ready to see who is going to take game number 3. It's our first tournament of the year for Apex Legends. I know you guys are hyped. Vicky and T-Squared bringing you the action. Vicky, what did you think of game number 2?
I loved it, and I'm always so happy to be here for our pro nights here for Series E. It's always a pleasure to also see how a lot of these teams trying to experiment or what they kind of need to look for when it comes to bringing up that confidence here as we tune into MPS now, the squad who took game number 2. Can they do it again on this final game on World's Edge here? They're starting off rotating away from Tree. We saw them have a troublesome time in game 1 trying to get away from this area here too, playing off the low ground sometimes, but no early 50-50 contentions here that we could see currently right now.
All right, what's in the cargo bot, Vicky? What do you think? Is it going to be some godly gold backpack like we saw Rambo get? Or is it going to be a crappy, like, skull piercer or something along the lines of that? Hey, I mean, skull piercer is not that bad, but it's like, would you rather have an attachment for your weapon or something that's going to give you utility for the entire team? I'll take utility for the entire team any day of the week. Take a look at the zone. It's going to pull over towards FaZe's side, maybe going over towards Tree. This is going to be a tricky one. I mean, you can see how much of that's hanging over towards the mountain. It makes you think that Tree is definitely a viable spot.
Now, I definitely know whatever came out of that drone is better than whatever I got today. I got, like, what is it? The double tap and then a white helmet and then a white bag. I was like, all right, well, I wasn't even running the G7 or the EVA 8, so had to take that L real quick. So we're going to have to see here as we also take a look at our first place overall squad right now in the overall leaderboards with their consistency and being in top 3. It's the Guard, also the team that won game number 1 with 8 KP. With the quickness, they're already going in for the rotate here too, so wasting no time since for the first time so far tonight, we are seeing a Southern Circle. So they're not going to be taking their chances. They're already going to be rotating off of the high to low ground currently right now from the squads that are going to be able to rotate away from staging and harvester. And they want to get ahead of the curve too to ensure that they're able to get the scan for the next set of the beacon once the circle closes.
Yeah, they need to beat the Top Guns before the Top Guns, go over there. And that's one of the things that is really weird about Thermal Station. It just takes so long to loot, but teams have already made their way over there. CLG getting into a fairly good spot. That's Alberelli on Olympus. Enjoyer playing that Mad Maggie. They had a pretty decent game in game number 2, trying to better that one here in the final game on World's Edge before we switch on over towards Stormpoint. But you'll notice the Guard wasn't messing around, Vicky, right? I mean, they still had gray armors. You only had, 35 shots there coming in for Rambo when it comes to his wingman, which just isn't that many. They want to get into a building and they want to get there fast.
And look how quickly they were, too. They're already inside that building, but we saw some grenades getting tossed out of the squad that is on the low ground right now. So Guard already noting that there is another team in the area. They also have the banner right there that RKN can scan to know how many squads are exactly in the area. That's another set of information that they can work with. Looks like maybe the EMP may have been destroyed here, but Guard now moving in. It's another squad that actually has the crypto themselves here, having to try to cover Keon, too, at the same time. Here comes Rambo with the beamage.
Oh, Rambo with the moves, putting in some serious work. Finds the second player. That's going to be Keon getting the first one. And Intel just gets worked by the Guard. One player remaining on the backhand side of this building. I thought they were going to coexist temporarily, but that's the power of the crypto in these type of fights, especially when you have controller demons like Keon and Rambo. Just go get them, boys.
They just fully sent it in right there, too. You see the confidence coming in from the Guard. They know that they could take that fight easily, and they've also taken that building. As we see FaZe playing exactly the way that you wanted to see them play, taking out Team Tyson T, and that's them not only cleaning up that fight, but also having so much great loot to work with. Look at Slip right now. Not only does he have his Skyward Dive, but he's able to get that purple Evo shield. You see him with a 4 shield badge currently right now. They're going to be able to restabilize so that way they can get moving, get into that next circle. And playing on the south side, too, talk about the circles that we really like to see. Having control over this beacon, it's going to be absolutely huge. And with the Bangalore smokes, you could just allow Snipe Down or Slurp to be able to get that scan on the beacon to see where that circle is going to be pulling if it continuously pulls towards launch site.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between a team like FaZe and Guard, right? Guard's going to rotate extremely fast, and then FaZe, they may not know exactly what that zone number 2 looks like to show what zone number 6 would look like. So they're going to play it a little bit safer, maybe hit that scan on the beacon one more time like you were talking about, Vicky, because it is in such a great spot. But either way, the team fighting is looking good for this squad. I mean, they barely took any damage in both of the team fight wins that we've seen from them overall. Seems like this composition's working out for them. Snipedown's got his confidence, not like it ever left, but you can see he's definitely feeling himself after taking a little bit of a break from Apex. And again, that comfort pick coming in on Bloodhound just seems to be suiting him so well.
And Naughty is great with this calls too, but I do believe it's Snipe that may be IGLing for tonight here too, so that's also something else because it's the information of the Bloodhound that allows Snipe to be able to make these calls, to take some of these fights, and understanding you are taking that fight to the south side of launch side, so you are away from a lot of the other squads that could have the opportunity to third party, making the rotations from the north side of launch site instead, the squads that want to be avoiding Big Mod and Lava City, as we see Slept On trying to take it over the high ground right now before getting pinched. I see that the bow check and Psycho's hands too, so that black market also coming in clutch when it comes to the equipment that Slept On is using.
Yeah, he's got the charge rifle with the red dot. I mean, not the best thing in the world, but here we go. Let's see what you can get outside of the black market. Hopefully something a little bit better. Psycho, share, man. Give your boy the 3x. Let him get into the black market, all right? Everyone needs a shopping spree.
Gotta love the Lovas sometimes that take out the black market, want to scoop up everything themselves and then take it down immediately afterwards. Nobody gets a piece of this loot real quick. That's not gonna happen for Slept On though. They all get to manage to use that black market at ready quickness with just trying to rotate right through before getting any other equipment that they need right now. You see Zerbo just trying to flex real quick. The wall bounces off to the side of the crates, but they're in a good spot here too. They are playing more of the edge composition here, with even though they have that Loba, they want to secure a building without having to expose themselves too much, but they're still playing very aggressive with the Horizon and Bloodhound, as we see Top Gun roster, another aggressive squad with the Bloodhound and Horizon now moving in.
Yeah, this is the rotation that they've been trying to make for quite some time after hitting up that loot. Wingman RE45. The thing absolutely rips if you haven't picked it up yet. 100 damage immediately onto the Valkyrie. Beast of the Hunt already popped over here. It's a matter of getting those fences out, but it's Crazy Ninja. He's going down first. The scans coming in for critical as well, as they're going to start moving forward. And if I know anybody with the Wingman on Bloodhound, that's definitely the designful guy that we know so well. Chin Strap Destroyer, that's going to be chaotic. And then you also have the final player on this team. Resulta is Johnny Hammersticks, but these guys absolute beasts. That is a very unfortunate team to run into if you're locking down this high ground on the tree side, and they're making quick work of Gothy. Scans coming in, they detect one more player over towards behind them, but that's how you do it. You entry frag with the scans, you come in and lay down some serious damage with that RE45 and leave the Wingman in the hands of one of our better Wingman players that we have in the North America scene in Designful. But Tripod's on the ropes here. It's going to be Deeds going down. Vicky Luda getting the better of him with the R301. And at this point, you're so separated from Nickmercs. What do? Just try to lay down cover fire as much as possible. That's exactly what Gent's doing. But it's a tough situation to be in, especially when you're eating the zone damage.
Yeah, and with Gents being the only one in a better position currently, just trying to give that suppressed fire before Nickmercs moves in. He has the information, though, a TSA that contests them. He popped the shield back in perfect time, and Nick cannot clutch out versus Luda. That only leaves Gent currently of Tripods with 17 squads left. What is he going to do here? Is he going to take this aggressive stance against Esports Arena, or is he going to take the L and just start rotating already?
Luda is dominating right there. I mean, great decision from Nickmercs to push that and not grab the banner. I think that was key. But just a little bit of a misstep in terms of the aim there. I mean, the aim was even looking good. He only missed a shot or two, so there really isn't much that you could ask. But everything seemed to be working in Tripod's favor, and they were about to maybe make this thing a 2v2. But now Gent's going to have to do something miraculous over here, and you wonder, was it worth to not grab that banner? I think so. I think going for the knock and stopping the animation. But it was just great use of the hill from Luda, Vicky. He did a great job of not showcasing his head, hitting the battery at the perfect time, and still had a little bit of HP to go and work with. Once he got knocked, his teammates were there to res. As we take a look at the next zone, definitely pulling over towards that tree side. Makes you wonder exactly what tree ending we're going to see. A lot of times it does kind of end in that major area, that triangle area right where it says the tree. Other times it's going to pull over towards where guard has locked things down and FaZe is starting to rotate towards.
Yeah, you can see how quickly FaZe was too with this rotation, since they had the beacon right there that they shared with Season. The guard now taking control over this building. It's FaZe that made their way into the bottom end of that building closer to the tree area. I love how you pointed out where some of the circles that we have seen before kind of pull in this direction. But with FaZe playing as aggressive as they have been, just trying to get a lot more of that momentum going, they have to make sure they can fight for the control of this building.
Amazing shots coming in from FaZe, but it's going to be guard getting the knock right there onto Slurp. Looks like a battery going to be popped in from Snipe Down. Nade doesn't connect. That's going to buy Naughty some time to go and heal up with his boy, but that's the thirst coming in. Another team coming in from behind. This is not good for FaZe.
Oh, you can see currently right now as well, Top Gun roster getting the knock with the charge rifle. Cummington not going to be able to be safe out of that. Sniped on Trust trying to heal up, but now playing as a duo currently. Naughty just dropping his shield just in case real quick. They heard the drone flying around a little bit here, and they're going to be able to avoid any sort of EMP action, as the guard could actually use that real quick in case a third party moves in too. But it's all about that information that that drone is going to be able to provide for them.
Exactly, and they know that this is a 2 versus 3. They know this is a very talented team that they're going up. But look, Keon putting in some serious damage, taking almost max damage. The 2v3 is coming in for FaZe. They get third-partied from the backhand side. They would have won that fight, Vicky, 2 versus 3 against the guard. If that doesn't say anything about this team, I don't know what will. But 100 Thieves now is going to come in and play cleanup. What a third party from them, and what a great fight there between guard and FaZe.
200 Thieves now looking to find that last member. Ooh, they tried to get right out of there, and the guard are not going to make it a top 3 this time around in our final game on World's Edge. They're going to get taken out in 13th, and with 12 squads left, 100 Thieves are looking to lock things down with another squad rotating on the outside of that southern lava siphon area.
And I'm not quite sure if RKN had the EMP, Vicky. I think you said that he did. They thought they didn't need it, I believe, and it's unfortunate because when you look at that, they're probably like, yeah, we probably should have used that, played it a little bit safe. At the same time, when you know you use that EMP, that's a big flare into the air saying, hey, come third party us, we just use that, you know that we're going to go and fight. Would have made it a little bit cleaner, and I feel like if they didn't get knocks on the opposite side, it wouldn't have happened. But what a job from FaZe in that 2 versus 3 scenario. ESA going out in 12th place. The Top Gun roster is back.
Gotta come in with the brah. You already know Top Gun roster always with the shots, but I like how you mentioned that we always know that critical KO has to be designed, and it's the impression that some of these individual players make. You know, Designful being on the Bloodhound with the Wingman landing those shots. Of course, the rest of this team so strong. It's chaotic results. So too, I believe here is they're going to be able to loot up appropriately before making the rotation into the north side of this circle. But they have that slight high ground advantage. They won't have that beacon information, but they have the RE45 and a Dream, and that's more than enough for this squad to cherish it.
And you can see what their thought process is. Everybody really using what their comfort weapons are. You have the scout poke coming in from Valkyrie, which is going to be Resulta. You have the car in the backhand pocket for him if he wants to get up close and personal. And then Designful's got that long, medium, close range in his back pocket with the Wingman. And then you know Chaotic's going to be using the R301. So realistically, when you look at their weapons, they have everything that you need to go and take fights. They have the long range poke, they have the medium range, they have the up close. I like the idea of not running a shotgun, especially when you're playing on controller, because those automatic weapons just hit different, especially in this type of meta where you're going to need to continuously shoot horizontals, hit the drones as well. Shotguns are still extremely powerful. It really just depends on your playstyle. Someone that continues to impress, that's always one of the nastiest players, like Monsoon Shotgun, absolutely nutty. Watch him use the Mastiff, the former PK, before it ends up going into the Crafter. Madness. He's one of the players that stands out as well when we talk about using shotguns. But here's the rotation coming in for Mike and Ike. We'll find out if they can find any open real estate.
Now, you mentioned some notable players. MJ also having their own star moments too, but having to find an area to secure themselves quickly as Wizard Coin and Silent fall incredibly low. They go for some quick emergency shield swaps just in case. But with the ping, they're just trying to figure out where they could go next. Now with the circle pulling just to their south, only thing they really have to worry about is the Warden with the Mad Maggie Tactical looking for an opportunity to just engage here for the squad.
Always cracks me up when you run into a building and there's a bunch of death boxes and you're like, ooh, death boxes. Like, wait, why are there death boxes in here? Because everyone keeps dying in this building. It's like a rat trap overall, but CLG's going to back off after getting 2 knocks, and that's the power of the portal. Man, I miss watching Wraith in competitive play. It allows you to do such fun opportunities like this where you can just go in, push inside of a building, and then come right back. We're talking about shotguns. Albert Lilly, don't forget about him. That Mad Maggie passive just hits different.
Trying to force their way inside the truck there too with that knockdown player like your Eric Andre through the fence line is the other squads on the outside. Sentinels losing out, and Senox currently right now. Pros trying to force their way into that truck, but looks like Senox just pushed a little bit too hard into the line of sight of that squad, and there's a squad right behind them too. The EMP is going to be deployed currently right now behind them, so they can't just fully push to get Senox's banner either, and the Beast of the Hunt is activated.
gonna be that turbocharged up Havoc. Crust putting in as much work as he possibly can. Scans coming through, shots hitting, and then of course it's the charge rifle in the backhand side from Borton, griefing the Sentinel squad. 100 Thieves after their third party, gonna be looking good. This is exactly what 100 Thieves want. They've gotten into a position with the Loba. They have continuous scans potentially on this Crypto. Doesn't look like they do have a beacon to hit, but Razor looks like they want to continue to fight, and this is going to be against Aegon AOC. They go out in 11th place. They still have Sentinels directly in front of them as well.
And 100 Thieves, too, that has been overlooking a lot of this action still from the safety from the inside of this house currently. They can see that they are playing off that logo, but they got all the loot and the shield swaps they need to also just try to engage and close in the gap between themselves and that squad that's right in front of them. Just to be backing off for just right now, trying to see if they can take a different approach into that circle, and they're going to take the skyward dive to do it, which could be a little tricky and a little risky with 10 squads left still for this next circle.
And the Razor's going to look like a repeat of what Mike and Ike was doing. It looks like they're going to avoid the trailer and try to take the backhand side of the building. This is a big play. I like the vibe coming in from Razor. They are taking massive damage, and they're not on the same page. Borton pushes in. The other two push out, and they have completely split up here, Vicky.
I know you can see 100 Thieves getting ahead of themselves, saying this is our opportunity to secure some free KP. We saw Razor getting out from the back end. They still managed to get out Borton, and Razor get completely taken out. So you can see Reptar now with the follow-up right afterwards for SZN now with so many other squads in the area playing on the outside of tree. The wingman shots are actually landing right here too for 100 Thieves, but this is such a good spot for them to get as much KP as they can to prevent the other squads from rotating from the southern side.
Watching competitive Apex just makes you want to play Apex, and then
Yes.
you play and you just don't look like this when you play, and you're like, man, all right, I gotta play some more, and that just feeds into it even more, Vicky, as you see 100 Thieves doing so great locking down this particular building, but now with 50 seconds left, they're gonna have to make some moves. Mike and I finally getting eliminated. MJ was staying alive for quite some time, but Top Gun is gonna be dropping them. CLG alive, silent game from them, but they've been able to pick up a couple of kills along the way, and MPS, the team that won game number 2, Vicky, they're still in this one, so some consistent squads showcasing what they're made of.
Really nice to see also Top Gun now managing to make their way into this next circle while also fending off any of the other teams that were trying to play a lot more patiently for final circle positioning. With Top Gun roster just being as aggressive as they are and with their team comp, this is what heavily favors them, playing on the edge more, and they had the beacon right behind them too, so they were still able to get the scan so that way they can ensure that they could still be in that next circle playing on the outside of it.
Massive damage coming in onto CLG. You can see them barely escaping with their life. Mamba gets a knock there onto Madness, but Jet answers that one right back onto Albra Lily. Oh man, almost knocking a player in the air with the scout shots too. And look at the positioning that they're in. Remember we were talking about the utilization of the weapons. You're starting to see that now come into fruition as Johnny Hammersticks is just laying down the hurt in there with the scout. There's going to be the missile barrage and the missile swarm coming in onto Clane. He pops a battery, but this is just great position. They have like a triangle surrounding all of these squads in front of them.
Yeah, with 5 squads left, Top Gun roster playing on the back end. That season right in front of them. They immediately delete that black hole, but they're trying to take some cover. The Arc start doing a lot of damage onto Johnny Hammersticks, and he's playing on the outside, but he needs to get into this next circle, into the line of sight of the squads that are playing in the tree.
MPS looks like they can land some shots over towards the side, but they're preoccupied with 100 Thieves, which allows Top Gun roster to make a move. It's going to be results of getting a knock with the R301. Grenade coming in. They still have all of MPS down below, and that's going to showcase exactly where they are. And you know what Designful wants to do. He wants to push that one. It's going to be MPS, winners of game number 2, going up against Top Gun roster. Pow taking over towards the high ground. You have Chaotic over towards the backhand side. 3v2. This is going to be Top Gun taking game number 3 and doing it in dominating fashion, rotating from the thermal station side, taking the high ground choke from the tree, getting kills immediately, and then finishing it off with a strong 3v3v3.
I'm really surprised that Papo opted to go for the Newcastle wall on the high ground in that timing right there. You mentioned it amazingly that Top Gun roster came in with the clutch rotation with their timing and their aggressive way of playing on the edge. MPS lands in tree there too, and so they were able to loot up quickly, settle down on the low ground too, prevent the other squads from rotating away from Lava Siphon, cleaning them up and getting involved in some third parties. Top Gun roster, though, they rotated right outside of fighting season into immediately playing off against MPS, who were playing off the low ground. So really good timing for that team.
And you can see why they take their time getting their particular loadouts that they want. Why not when you shoot like that with the scout? I mean, Designful with the wingman, he gets the red dot every single time. Chaotic gets the R301 every single time, either as a 2X or a 2-4. They've been through these scenarios a million times. They know exactly how to play it. They know which teams they need to take out. A lot of damage coming in over towards the Johnny Hammerstick side. It's going to be 3 kills for him, 8 kills for Chaotic, 6 kills coming in for Designful as well. A complete pop-off game for Top Gun.
Are you kidding me? This is insane KP for our game-winning squad for game number 3. This is going to allow Top Gun roster to just skyrocket in the overall leaderboards with all these kills that they were able to finish up. 17 KP to their name.
And I believe they moved up to 2nd overall, and it's a matter of, was MPS strong enough from game number 2 and 3 to take over 1st place, or was it still the Guard who started off game number 3 in 1st? But unfortunately for the Guard, they met FaZe in that 2 versus 3. 100 Thieves came in, swooped up those kills, and they found themselves in the final circle too. So again, a very exciting start to 2023 here on Series Z on our Pro Night. Our pro play is really bringing it on World's Edge. Another person that's going to bring it. It's going to be Yeso. He's bringing it to you at the studio to break down all the action you just saw.
You heard T-Squared at the end of Game 2 asking for what more we were going to see from Top Gun roster throughout the rest of the day, and they didn't wait very long to respond as they grabbed the win here in Game number 3, finish out our first half here in our action on World's Edge before we head over to Stormpoint with an impressive 17 KP game here, 29 points for the squad, and that is definitely going to catapult them up to the top of the leaderboard. Doubtful 1st place, but they're going to be very much in the mix in that top 3 to top 5 area. So what a game from them, and 17 KP, that's a hell of a showing from the squad. Let's just jump right into our Mobile One High Performance moment. I don't want to waste any time. Let's quickly jump into this replay, and it's the finish. And Top Gun roster have the top positioning here up on the high ground, laying down the nades. 100 Thieves gets eliminated. It's now this 3v2 up against MPS, and they've got all the tools they needed. You've got the triple red Evo, you see Pow Pow trying to get up to the high ground with that ultimate from the Newcastle, but it's not enough here. So much damage has already been done, and the fact that 100 Thieves is still alive here and applying pressure in this mix means that MPS's attention is divided. Meanwhile, Top Gun roster just hold this high ground position, keep beaming on these players, and they have no difficulty whatsoever taking out that final squad and grabbing the win. So just a nice clean finish to this game, and that's the cherry on top of a very impressive performance from Top Gun roster. Now we just have to find out where they stand on our Mobile One leaderboard, and they've jumped all the way up to 2nd place. They actually pass up MPS. The Guard able to get enough done there, an 8-point game from them to hold on to 1st place for the time being. They will go into halftime there with 43 points in 1st place, but Top Gun roster with that 29-point game jump all the way up to 2nd place here at 40 points and pass up MPS. So things very tight at the top of the leaderboard. 5 points between the Guard and MPS there, and then a little bit of a jump. CLG 12 points behind 3rd place going into our 4th game of the day. But there's still opportunity. CLG, Season, Tripods, 100 Thieves, Aegon, all in an okay spot to make a push, but they can't waste their time. They really need to show up in games 4 and 5 if they want to close that gap, because even in the Guard's worst games today, they continue to put points on the board and get deep in these games, and they're making it difficult for these squads to catch up. So definitely keep an eye on that top 8 front to back. There's a lot of movement that could still happen on that Mobile One leaderboard. We're going to go to a break right now. Do want to remind you, if you want to continue to support us here at Esports Arena and everything going on with Series Z, make sure to head over to walmart.com/esports arena. You can purchase products from all of our partners: Intel, Razer, Tyson, Aegon, and more. Again, that's walmart.com/esports arena, and you can pick up anything that you need over there. Let's head to a break right now. When we come back, Vicky, Kitty, and T-Squared will get their sunscreen on and head to the beaches of Stormpoint.
Welcome back, everyone, to our Series E action. We waste no time here as we dive right into Game 4, our first game on Storm Point. I'm Vicky Kitty, and I'm here with T Squared. And T, after the action we saw go down in Game 3, where Top Gun roster ended the game with 17 KP, was actually insane.
One would say they were going. They were bringing the heat, man. They went from, I don't know, like dead last to second place. These guys were popping off, right? They weren't dead last, all right? They had some points before that, but it's nice to see them in full swing. And Johnny Hammerstick's results has got his G7 Scout back. So look out if you're in this lobby. They're going to be putting down some serious damage.
Also very interesting, I do believe that Designful now is on the bang and maybe have made that swap with Chaotic, I believe. That is Chaotic out here on the Bloodhound instead. So still rocking the Bangalore and Bloodhound composition here to work with on Stormpoint. Something, again, that we made mention of on World's Edge that we've been seeing a lot within the Pro League, rocking this composition in general. I do expect to see even more Bangalores than we've already been exposed to on World's Edge now as we make this transition into Stormpoint. So we're going to have to see as we also wait to see where the circle is going to be pulling for us on this map to see if we're going to get one of those northern circles.
And it looks like it is going to be northwest right on cue. Down Beast is looking sexy, and you know who's over there? That's going to be FaZe in a great spot. DZ also going to be able to lock down the mill and rotate over there fairly quickly, and a lot of different playable areas over there, but it looks like FaZe most likely will take the high ground of the Down Beast, and DZ, I'm guessing they're going to go play that low ground. Would love to see what the rotations come in from that northern side, though, and see what SCN's going to do, because if they can beat KHG over there, they're going to be feeling good.
Yeah, especially with the way that SCN has been playing. One of our squads that's in the top 5 at the moment, alongside the Guard, MPS, and CLG. Like you mentioned how Dark Zero is going to try to rotate here, because even if they do take this fight against FaZe, there are the other 2 squads in the area that could try to find the opportunity to third party if they don't know where this next circle is going to be moving.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you get those quick scans so you can find out exactly what's going to be happening here. ESA have not had the pop-off day that they were hoping for quite yet, but there's still 3 games left, and we know Stormpoint plays so much different than World's Edge. Different compositions, different play styles, different area, whole new feel over here. Is they're going to be taking their sweet time, hitting the rotation, getting those crafting materials up. Look at the loot coming in from DZ. I mean, not great attachments there for Jen Burton, but powerful armors, double purple and a blue. Smoke's coming in so they continue to rotate over towards the building, and it looks like this is the building that they were going for. They're going to take control of that one and not even play the bottom side of the Down Beast, letting FaZe take that to themselves.
I do like this position, though, in case that they see that the circle rotates more away from them towards the eastern side, they'll be in a safe position to try to gatekeep FaZe, who has the high ground positional advantage. And sometimes we still see the circle even pull in this direction. The only thing they're denying themselves, though, is the opportunity to get that beacon, unless they can get that drone out in the air here, is FaZe are just going to be continuously overlooking that squad right below them. They are going to drop down eventually now, and let's see how they're going to engage with the Beast of the Hunt activated. Oh, he closed the door on him.
And then the grenade just bounces right in his face, too, so that's a difficult thing to start a fight with. They're going to back off, EMP coming in, and there's going to be a lot of teams that focus this area. This is not a smart fight, and I feel like these teams need to recognize that. They're most likely just going to calm it down, set up, and coexist. Everyone just play nice.
Man, it would be ashamed if an EMP just destroyed all of these fence lines that we see these squads taking control of. Dark Zero being one of the squads that are not rocking the Watson or the Crypto here, which is risky sometimes to be in this position this early in the game. We have seen the circle pool on top of their building, and if it's not this building, it's the space between this building and the building that the Guard are holding in. But it's risky still nonetheless when you don't have a bunkered down character in your comp to prevent other teams like FaZe from just forcing their way in.
Should slow down here, and everyone just kind of, again, poking and showcasing that they are a solid team. I mean, again, Vicky, this is what you do in these type of situations, right? You want to go and test the might of the other players. If you sense any weakness, then you would collapse, but at a certain point you have to show, all right, we're just not going to get pushed over here, and that's exactly what both of those teams are doing. Saw the Prowlers, but it looks like SCN is the team that's going to be on the prowl over here as they sense one player that's pretty split away from the rest of the squad. But oh my goodness, Kodagami with the one clip there onto Acula is going to change the fight in favor of Team Tyson, and that is what you're looking for from one of our partner squads, but it's not over quite yet.
Oh, now you can see Kodagami playing right behind the knockdown shields. 1v1 real quick. He tries to get the hip fire shots. He gets a break. He has to swap over to the G7. He gets the headshot. He takes care of SZN. And now he's going to try to get the res here too. Great timing right now, but I heard a thermite being thrown from quite a bit of way. So hopefully they are able to restabilize before a third party moves in.
Were you clenching? I was clenching. Chat was,
was
clenching.
clenching.
We were all a little bit worried right there. You know, it could have been an embarrassing moment, but Tyson comes out on top.
Always gotta love swapping over to that G7, landing that little heady real quick out here. Protect Cub, also playing on the back end behind the Watson Gen. See Covington now finding the opportunity. He may not be fully healed, but it's fine. He's got the hands of his teammates to help protect them. Hand out side by side right next to him. But they're taking different angles to prevent this squad from trying to rip them from different angles here too. And that squad looks like they're actually disengaging here.
You also have a fight between two former teammates. It's going to be the Missile Swarm onto Gent. So Johnny Hamasik's coming in. Resulta getting 2 knocks, one on a Nick Burks, one on the Gent. Intel is going to drop Crazy Ninja and King Drew, as well as Intel picking up some kills. Deed's last player alive, trying to fight for tripods, is going to get 1, and Thirst as well. But this is all the way in the zone. These guys are in Narnia.
It was worth it at least for Deeds to get that finishing blow at least real quick, even though the beacon is right there. It's about making a statement, as I always say. Slept now also getting involved. See the black hole getting called in. Arcstar right behind Zerbo. He gets taken out from 2 directions as Slept we're playing a little bit passively to avoid that black hole here. Let's see if Cycles can work with this without the Digi threat and his smokes. Nice little follow-up here for Slept Bloodhound left incredibly low, but with 1 player left on the opposing squad, they could definitely 2v1 this. And they do come out on top, taking care of Aegon by AOC.
And great just use of, oh, nice third party coming in over towards the backhand side. He finds the knock as well. That's big. That's on the Psycho, who was the weak player. That wasn't actually on the down player. I don't believe they were able to get that down player back up. So it's going to be 2 players on Slepton crawling on the ground. But I was just about to compliment Psycho on his movement there with the Bangalore, because he knew that he had to reload both of his guns. So he uses that double time passive and could be the world's most annoying knockdown shield player. And at this point, they're just dancing.
Feels like he's trolling. He's just making sure that he looks at him. He says, remember who knocked you. Mike and Ike also chasing after that last straggler. Slept on, finally get taken out. And now they're going to be able to get all the loot that they need to work with here. I mean, not like they even need it here, man. It's just maybe a purple extended light mag for MJ out here, because they're rocking 2 purple Evos that they've been able to boost their way up here. Maybe take and splat from another player. And the gold Evo shield that Silent is working off with. So with some bits to go for them to get into that next circle, they can take their time here with these death boxes.
Yeah, unfortunate timing there for the third party, but I felt like they played that so well from Slept On. It's nice to see Mike and I getting some momentum, however, getting some loot along the way. That's what you want to see from MJ. The 2-4 R301 car in the back pocket, both automatic weapons for when he uses that grav lift to lay down some serious fire. But again, without any type of zone knowledge, they're going to have to make their way forward and find out what's going to be in front of them. You can see 14 squads remaining. This is a pretty, I would say, fast-paced game, Vicky, for, you know, considering what we saw on World's Edge, right? We've seen a lot of action so far on Stormpoint.
Yeah, actually, I like how you bring that up too, because with the circle pulling towards the down B's outskirts of checkpoint area here, sometimes, I mean, we do have that beacon there right now, actually, over checkpoint, so getting that information is super crucial here, but CLG rocking the catalyst. We see Mamba out here and testing things out here as well, with the circle actually pulling on the outside of checkpoint, more towards the south side between Mill and Down Beast. This is going to benefit the rotation for ESA, since they have the beacon right there. They could deny that from any of the other teams that want to get through that choke point, but I don't see any teams really trying to take those chances, so ESA would probably get that beacon for free.
And you know that CLG's been rocking the Wraith when it came to World's Edge. They're still going to do that on Stormpoint. Big shots coming in onto Kubsky and his squad, and making quick work of them as the res is coming through. And Olympus Enjoyer, that's going to be Elrelly getting picked back up. This is more in line with the compositions that I was hoping to see out of CLG. Granted, they're in 4th place. They've had a great start, and I understand what they're doing with the Maggie. You saw how many great plays he was able to make, but at the same time, I want to see catalyst, man. I want to see some, you know, innovation, and CLG is really hyping it up with the way that they are switching up Legends, and that's why you gotta respect the way that they play. I mean, these are completely different Legends. You go from Maggie, extremely aggressive, to Crypto, extremely passive aggressive. That just goes to show Albrili's pool.
That and the Wraith plays, too, have been incredibly hyped. I'm living for it out here as we see Lux. He crafted himself a little turbocharger, or maybe took it off the death box from a player who already did that to themselves. But Lux is taking some raw shots from the inside of that bunker after the smoke grenades were called in. Gets the scan with the Bloodhound right here from Crust, trying to entry frag for the rest of the squad. It tells out the Arc Star, but they don't want to fully send it in just yet without having the same information that a Seer ult could provide for them.
Yeah, once that Seer ult goes down, they basically can just watch their back. I don't think that the team's going to push outside of the Seer ult, right? This is Mike and Ike. You can see MJ's got the same idea. They're not going to push here. They're probably going to be directly on the edge. Q's not going to connect there, and MJ is just going to back off, understanding the situation. They need to watch their backs as well. But this is an interesting dance in between these two teams. It's a great placement of the Seer ult. You can see pings going on over towards the door. You don't want to get trapped in between two teams or sandwiched. So at a certain point, if you're Mike and Ike, you're thinking about taking this fight.
Yeah, they have to make a decision quickly here, too. They hear the Beast of the Hunt, which means that they're going to start engaging right now through the smokes. You see the scans coming in. They're playing around the nice pillars and tubes here inside the building. But here comes Johnny Hammersticks also getting the knock with the G7. They're trying to clean up this fight before the third party comes in behind them.
And that's going to be all she wrote there for Mike and Ike. Good shots coming in from Sentinels. They're going to drop them down. It's Senox finishing things off. Razor gets eliminated. You saw Top Gun picking up some kills in the kill feed. Multiple fights taking place all at once. This is over towards the mill. This is where ESA was locking down. Vicky, you recommended this would be a good spot to go and hold, and I agreed, but all of a sudden Top Gun comes in and they take over first place with those kills.
And with quick rotation, too, is something super important to note here, because I may mention that it doesn't look like there were many squads in the area to contest for this beacon, and Top Gun roster immediately came here towards the mill area instead of down beast, although gets that trade for the knock for knock onto Phony and Johnny Hammersticks, and they're going to be able to play around the knockdown shield, too. With the gold knockdown shield, they're also going to be able to get that res after taking care of ESA, making a statement shot, too, on the death box before dropping the evil shield to get that evil shield swap.
Well, surely it's his controller malfunctioning. I mean, there's no way he would shoot the death box. He needs the ammo, right?
Yeah, it's a tactical shooting, you know? I'm just gonna make a statement real quick. It's not the tactical crouching. That's just a different page of a different book. But
no, you know what he's doing? He's faking another third party so more teams come in. Okay, I get it. I get it now.
Genius. 2020 IQ play out here too, as 100 Thieves also move in with the Skyward Dive. Amu's only got the blue Evo, but with so many squads with their quick rotation towards down beast, we saw how FaZe had given up the high ground of down beast. They could have easily taken it back again after noticing that they couldn't engage on a fight, but so many teams did get into position really early, like the Guard and Dark Zero.
What is this spot? There's 100 Thieves like, no, we've played this rock before in the middle of the open. we have a, mobile respawn beacon. That's all the cover we need. This is an absolute insane spot to hold. We'll see if it works out for 100 Thieves.
And the black market too. It's like, all right, we got the makeshift cover. It's all good. We're making our own rock. We're making our own cover. That's how we see the mobile respawn beacon used up sometimes too, but it could also be a bait just in case other squads start thinking that they have a clear shot in through that choke point rotation. Kodagami falls incredibly low. They're actually the squad that's on the high ground right above 100 Thieves. Gotta reset before they make their next move here too, because there could be a squad also rotating through their back since there is a beacon there.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because this is where teams are going to try to play the slow side of the zone, and you can see there's not much area unless you're on the opposite side of the mountain, and now all hell breaking loose. Kodagami finds a little safe tree area, but he's hugging one of his teammates. It looks like they're stuck in there.
It's gonna glitch their way into each other at the same time. Kodagami also just getting shot at in the most unluckiest times, unfortunately. Just their heads poking out. It's a bit too much. Always having to restabilize here. But between this rock, you do have a good crevice. It's a matter of just not getting pinched by the squads also underneath you.
It seems safe until it isn't, until an arc star lands on your teammate's head, and then you're trying to both fall off at the same time, and you just fall right back down into the crevice. I can see it happening. I can already see it happening, but it looks like they're just going to be safe for now. And if anyone was to be safe in that crevice, I feel like you would want the crypto player in there so we can get into this EMP. Speaking of EMP, It's time. The full send coming through. The portal is there as well. Nice fence being placed. And there's a black hole, so they're using all of the resources over here on the backhand side of Team Intel. Intel needs to do something, and I like that. Put the interception pylon down. Unfortunately, it's right in a window, and goodbye. I don't think I've seen a pylon die so fast.
That as we just saw the attempt of the kidnap from CLG. I mean, it has to be CLG. It's the rate that we're talking about before. And now they're playing from the back end, and like you mentioned, they used basically everything out here. It is CLG. They're sharing the inside of this building right now. You can see the Catalyst Tactical coming out as well. Nato's still very anxious to try to move in there. They get the crack. They hit 78 flesh, but still having to back away with the chunk of damage that this circle is taking away from them.
And this is where my lack of playing Catalyst kind of shows, because I'm wondering, like, how could you wall this fight off, right? You know Mamba's thinking about it. He wants to get involved. Unfortunately, the portal ends up getting taken. Makes you wonder, are they going to take this portal on the opposite side? The portal disappears at the perfect timing. Super lucky there for CLG, or was it calculated? We don't really know. A lot of popping off in the kill feed. You can see intel gets dropped. Stankini eats it, as well as it's going to be Lux and Sentinels getting involved in those fights. But now it's rotation time, and we know that they don't have a Valkyrie. Big shots are going to open things up on the backhand side there for Mamba, and he takes control of the west side of Stormpoint. And it's also Albarelli with the shots onto Pow Pow. They need to fight their way through this choke, and that's exactly what they're going to do.
Hit him with the Pow Pow on the back end with that car too, with the absolute beamage, playing on the back end of this tree with the other squad right in front of them. See, the Newcastle wall was already used up by that team, and on the other side, less cover for that player. He gets beamed. It's madness from Mamba with this R3, and he's been putting in the work.
One more player remaining, and MPS goes out. Nice wall coming through to stop the third party from the southern side of the map. Medkits being traded out, and you can see a grab lift showcases there is a team over towards the southeast. Albarelli needs to heal, but they know that they need to rotate over towards the zone. Fortunately, it was just a solo. Pings directly in front of him. Remember, 100 Thieves is there. Look how many teams were back here, Vicky. You had 4 or 5 teams, and 100 Thieves most likely just still sitting at that rock.
And just looking at all the action, taking shots, knocking Mamba in the process. You see Scurry scurrying away behind these two players. You can't hide behind that knockdown forever before you're forced to come out. Even with the reload, Scurry still trying to play around. He can't get the finish, though, on that finished player who's playing behind that knocked player. Sentinels now with the high ground have found a way to pinch CLG. They get cleaned up by 100 Thieves after they get finished off, though. The guard still could take some shots from the inside of their building from the far, but Sentinels are now going to be able to work with all this additional loot.
And 100 Thieves bit off a little bit more than they could chew right there. Unfortunately, going for that bracelet may have cost them, but either way, I think that the thought process was there for 100 Thieves. They needed to clear these players out. They were not expecting so many teams, and whenever you're rotating with a lot of teams in that type of instance, with the zone starting to push over towards your back, you always want to be the last squad, because everyone's going to get preoccupied with one another. It just makes sense, right? You want to clean up. You don't want to be the ones that really open things up for the other teams. It's exactly what Sentinels was able to do. The experience showing, and the comp showing too, because you could smoke off certain areas, etc. Arcade now going to get in the drone and potentially see a push coming in from guard onto Sentinels.
And from Top Gun roster, who's managed to make their way into another top 3 finish here. It's the guard, Top Gun roster, Sentinels on the other side out here. And each of these squads are taking different angles. They get the crack with the Kraber, but still there's too much open space for them to try to push in onto this. They don't feel comfortable, and I like that decision from Top Gun roster.
Vicky, when we talk about positioning for their team, I feel like guard is the best at that. I mean, Keon's going for the armor swap, but it's an empty red armor. He gets Kraber over towards the backhand side while he's control looting, and then the push coming through. He can see through the smoke. He's not cheating. It's just the power of Bloodhound and the beasts of the hunt. You have the Arcstar coming through on Deluxe. Rambo's weak over towards the side. Scans coming through as well. And look at the amount of damage this Top Gun roster is doing.
Oh, they're eating. They're eating. Look at the KP they also have before finishing up this squad here, too. Over on the side. Yes, the fighting is between these two teams, but it doesn't matter. Top Gun roster had the best positioning to clean up and eat for everybody that was left between Sentinels and Guard, and they take another game here on Stormpoint, back-to-back after their game finish and on World's Edge, and now starting things off great on Stormpoint.
And I've always thought that this Top Gun roster was extremely strong at World's Edge, but something about Stormpoint, and I feel like their composition just works out better because the value of Bangalore seems to be better in these situations. And we've seen it in Broken Moon and Ranked, we're seeing it throughout other regions, and we're seeing it here today in Series Z. This team looks rejuvenized, almost pissed after changing teams and not being on G2 anymore. It seems like they have something to prove today.
Let's also not forget that while G2 made their first move into this first split of the Pro League, that this was the first team to actually utilize the Bloodhound and Bangalore composition in North America to the degree that they were able to find the success that they found that allowed other teams to now kind of utilize that same type of composition to reap very similar rewards. And you can see with how top-heavy Top Gun roster is and with how aggressive they are, already still surpassing double-digit KP once again is actually insane, T.
You love to see it. I mean, again, positioning, timing, everything that you want to see, but we're also starting to recognize certain teams rising to the top. Top Gun's right there. MPS has been consistent. Guard's been consistent. Other squads are going to recognize what these teams are doing in terms of their rotations and positions, but I feel like it's a matter of can you stop these guys, because when you watch how they're playing, everybody is splitting up, taking their angles. They're all playing kind of on their own, but together, because they're not really running shoulder to shoulder. They almost like smother you and just like kind of choke you out of those spots. And that's what you love to see from a team that, again, has a lot to prove.
Yeah, it's always really nice to see, too, Top Gun roster stay as consistent as they have been, including the likes of Guard, too. I mean, Guard have made their way into another top 3 finish, but this is the third one that we actually see them finish in a top 3. So can it compare, though, to the amount of KP that Top Gun roster have been able to put down after a very dominating Game 3 win as well when they finished that game with 17 KP? It's the consistency that I'm looking at out here.
There's a lot of exciting parts to that game. I think one of the best parts was the kidnap that we almost saw from CLG. But I love their composition, right? There's so many different things that you could do with Catalyst and the wall, the Wraith with the portals in terms of third partying, potentially kidnapping like we were just talking about and almost just saw. And then the EMP that's going to come through. I mean, that's a very aggressive composition, and they're trying to figure out their own meta. While everyone else has their stuff figured out, CLG's testing things out. That's what Series E is all about. That was game number 1 on Storm Point. Let's toss this one over to Yeso, get his thoughts.
Back-to-back wins from Top Gun roster, and I believe 54 points total across those 2 games. I believe that has catapulted them up into first place. We'll check our Mobile One leaderboard here in just a little bit, but another great game from them and a well-timed third party catching the Guard and Complexity there in a very tough spot. And of course, the Guard were looking really good, but an unfortunate lack of an armor swap there for Keon does punish them and put them in a rough position there. But another top 3 finish for the team. They have been the most consistent squad here tonight, but I think Vicky rightfully posing the question of whether the consistency from the Guard or these high highs we've seen from Top Gun roster will win out here tonight. We will find out with 2 more games remaining. But before that, let's jump into our Mobile One high performance moment here for game number 4. Of course, our first look at Storm Point here in the new year in Series E. And it's the Guard here, and they are just in a good enough position here. And I apologize, it's not Complexity, it was Sentinels at the end, but they are playing with Luxford. So my mistake there. But it is Sentinels there. They throw that deep black hole, and thankfully the Guard are in an okay position, but the problem is they aren't able to get those initial knocks, and then with Keon not finding that armor swap, they go down a member, and then Top Gun roster come rolling in even through the smoke. They are just beaming these players. Anybody that they catch in their sideline is in trouble and is going to go down. You could already see RKN finished off, Luxford goes down, and then Crust to finish off Sentinels, and then it's just the easy finish here on these very heavily wounded Guard members. There's nothing that they can do. Top Gun roster is under absolutely no pressure in this fight. The Guard and Sentinels are entirely focused on each other this entire time, that and just trying to find some sort of cover, some sort of breathing room to get a reset if they possibly can in this fight, but they're nowhere near able to find that in this one, and Top Gun roster just roll in and absolutely shred. Both teams pick up some awesome last KP here. I believe they go there from 9 all the way up to a finish of 13 here at the end of the game, and that's just a really good close from Top Gun roster, and back-to-back wins have them in a wonderful place. Let's look at that Mobile One leaderboard and see just how things have shaken out overall, as I believe Top Gun roster has jumped into first, and they have. The Guard now at 56 points with a 9-point gap, so they've got some ground to make up here with Top Gun roster catapulting to the top of the leaderboard. MPS still in that conversation, but that gap's starting to widen here. You saw they went out at around 9th to 10th place, with not nearly as many points as you would be hoping for. So the Guard and Top Gun roster starting to pull away from the pack. You'll remember I mentioned after Game 3 there were opportunities for teams all the way down to 8th place to make some moves. But the problem is, if Top Gun roster and the Guard continue to show up in top 5s, in top 3s, that's just more and more ground for these teams to make up, and there's less and less time to do so. So that field has now shrunk down to the top 4. Really, Sentinel's even going to have a very difficult time closing this gap with just 2 games remaining. So the focus will be on Top Gun roster, the Guard, MPS, and CLG going into these last couple of games. We'll see how that all shakes out when we come back from this break. Vicky, Kitty, and T-Squared will have more from you when Series E returns.
Top Gun roster coming through. And if these guys don't all have mustaches while they're playing right now, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. Vicky, back-to-back wins. Who's going to stop them?
I have no idea, especially with the amount of KP that they're dropping out here, aside from the dubs that we're seeing. You could tell they're feeling themselves, especially after making the moves that they were able to make with the Kraber in their hand, following up with the opportunity to prevent themselves from getting pinched between both Sentinels and the Guard. But it's crazy to see them not only rise all the way to second place after a dominating performance Game 3, but now overtaking the Guard, taking first place in the overall standings after another double-digit KP game, winning game number 4.
Yeah, they really did it in style, too. It's like they're playing in 2024 or something like that, because they are just moving on a whole nother level. And it's impressive to see. Again, I feel like they have a lot to play for. I'm sure that they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder after, one of the longest standing rosters no longer involved in Apex. It really stinks to see G2 out, but it's awesome to see these guys stick together. And I think that's what their strengths have lied in. Obviously, their shots, the way that they, practice, their hard work that they put in the game, but the camaraderie that they have together and being able to stick together throughout a lot of adversity. And for so long, they were one of the longest lasting teams that we had in Apex, no matter what they were placing, no matter what they were doing. Eventually, Gent gets let go and he goes on over to Tripods, finds a good home there. Chaotic ends up coming in on over towards that former G2 roster. But I love seeing him play at this type of level. And to answer the question of who could stop them, well, we saw some of those teams over towards the top, right? I'm thinking Guard, the way that they were able to play, the way that they continue to play, the consistency that they bring to the table. If I had to vote for any team, it's definitely going to be them. But there's still a lot of Apex to be played. We still have 2 games remaining here on Stormpoint.
Yeah, we saw that circle pull over by the outskirts of Down Beast, in between the Down Beast choke point and the checkpoint choke point. And we saw how aggressive we saw teams like Top Gun roster force their way into that circle. Kind of like the different page that you were mentioning earlier on a World's Edge that we see from the Guards book, the way that they play. It's always loot quick and immediately get to the final circle positioning, and then we'll loot after we get all the death boxes at our feet from the teams that we force out of the buildings that they thought that they could sit in. So it's kind of very different compared to what we've already been seeing from Top Gun roster, and then the opposite side of the coin, which is the Guards gameplay.
And you know what would stop them? An EMP. I feel like that's what you need to do. Slow them down, hit the EMP, maybe a catalyst wall coming in from CLG. But these guys are looking good as we take a look at their flight path going on over towards the Fish Farms area. And we'll find out where the zone's going to be. A Down Beast type of zone previously. Ship just finally flying off of the map. But I love the Bangalore Bloodhound combination. Still Valkyrie being in the back pocket. ESA, early fight potentially taking place over towards this area. And I'm a little bit worried because I don't remember a 50-50 taking place. It must be, again, the boomer in me. I don't know what's going on here, Vicky, but, you know, ESA looks like they want blood early.
Yeah, looking like they're trying to contest here in Cenote Caves now. Usually trying to approach from the mill side. You can see the Missile Storm landing some of those shots with the hit marker coming out. Phony gets deleted, but Luda trades that against Tripods with Nick Mertz getting sent down from the 30-30. We also got to talk about the Luda finding that purple evil shield, but is it enough when he's got a Mozambique in a dream?
Mozambique in a dream, the res is taking place, and Deeds is looking like he wants to land some shots with the wingman. The res stops as Jet's going to come in, and it's a 2v1. I don't think they're going to be able to do this. I love the stop of the res right there. You definitely don't want to leave your teammate in a 1v1 situation. You saw the purple armor, and ESA challenge was accepted and terminated as Tripods 7th place, picking up some free KP. Well, not that free. It cost a little bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you know what? They'll absolutely take that. You're going to try to contest Tripods out here. You got to try to do it confidently, especially if you find yourself with a purple evil shield off the rip. Now that's going to go into Tripods' arms, and Team Tyson also in an early skirmish themselves. You can see the Bloodhound scan for scan. Bloodhound means no, you gotta always put down your dominance sometimes with the scan, even if you know where they're gonna be approaching from. But they're gonna take the heat cannon. They're gonna be able to get out of there real quick before making their next move into that next circle. Avoid that squad that's trying to play from right behind them.
Wow, zone pulled over there too, so the fight that they won just amplified by that much more. DZ already on the rotation, coming in from the mill. FaZe dancing around still over towards the down beast. Guard making their move in, and that's why Guard has been so successful. They do not mess around. They have one of the, if not the fastest rotations out of all of our teams here in Series E tonight, and that's what you love to see, especially considering the composition that they're going to be running. Razor coming from that shipfall area isn't going to take that long either, and I'm looking out for Slepton over towards Barometer to potentially make their way, but MPS still, too. Another team to watch out for. Intel may end up dancing with Avex and his squad very shortly, but you can see Intel isn't really interested in going over towards the east side. They're just going to continue to go towards southwest.
This circle, on Stormpoint is probably one of my favorite circles. I know we were talking about it on World's Edge, but when it comes to these Cenote Cave circles, you may not be able to share the real estate between the buildings that you would see, obviously, on World's Edge between Skyhook and Fragment. But on Cenote Caves, it's the high to low ground disparity between the rock formations that Cenote provides as a POI that allowed some of these squads to coexist with one another, but with less cover than what the buildings will provide. So, with so many squads already taking control over the back area of Cenote Caves, here comes the Guard with the Skyward Dive to get the extra intel that the Skyward Dive Valkyrie passive provides here before making their move on the high ground in the back end.
Always love watching when you are one of the fastest teams to rotate what your strategy is going to be. The patented charge rifle combo coming in from Rambo. Absolute monster with this one. Also going to be playing on that Valkyrie, which we've seen him be so successful on Stormpoint, especially in the championships in Raleigh, North Carolina, when he had that amazing moment subbing in for GMT. Last player alive, flying as high as possible and dropping down and finishing off the game with a win. Really kind of, I feel like, just set Rambo on the map if he wasn't already, and he's continued to showcase what type of player he is throughout the entire time. They're going to basically get into the God spot, Vicky, and I like this zone as well as we see the first fight for FaZe happening over towards the mill.
This is their approach right now, too. They're going to get EMP. They're backing off. I like this call from Snipedown. Even though he already popped the Beast of the Hunt, he's going to go for another scan after popping this battery real quick. He's going to be able to find out where that other player is before approaching. And within that Seer ult, too, he's playing on the outside of it just so that way he doesn't give away too much and he gets to his scan of his own without being limited to the boundaries of a scan, or rather an ult like Seer's ult.
And you know how angry Snipedown looks after finding out that they're playing Crypto and Seer? He just continues to send it over towards him. It's King Drew taking the grenade to the face. Snipedown picking up the kill. And where are the rest of the teammates is the real question. As you can see the loot coming in for Slurp. But great job backing down, understanding the situation. And great call, Vicky, to stay outside of that Seer ultimate. I mean, it's one of the most important things that you can do whenever you approach situations like that. He backed down, took the EMP, healed through it, waited for his his scan to come right back, And all of that was more than enough time to buy enough time for his teammates to get in location to have his back. So free kills going on over to FaZe, and they're starting to get momentum. They slowed down in game number 1, and ever since then they've seemed to be on a pretty good pace.
Tripods too out here. Gotta give them also the same credit of when we talk about consistency. You saw Jet get a knock onto Washi from Team Razor as Sentinels get into the inside of this building. The Rolling Thunder also being called in by Senox before he pops that med kit. Knows that there is that squad that's right above them right here too. It's Team Tyson also with the Bangalore. Gonna be able to stay on the high ground here.
Tyson's had their moments, but Kodakami needs to be careful because his teammate's ready to throw a thermite over towards that door, and that thing is going to break. Looks like there's multiple teams in the area. I mean, you're getting shot over towards the back. You have a player that's on the replicator. And they're just trying to get medkits, Vicky. They just wanted a big chill inside the zone. And why has everyone got to be so aggressive?
Man, you can't take our medkits out of our own replicator. That's called stealing out here. Lobo would like to have a word. A Sentinels trade one-on-one. Senox going down here. Lux falling low, but he's going to be able to pop that medkit just in time here. Crust with the scans too. Doesn't have Beast of the Hunt. He used it earlier. He wants to prevent this res from coming in, and that grenade's going to do just the job.
Good use of the knockdown shield. And you can see the crouch coming through as well, and Crust gets dropped as a one-on-one situation, and now up to Lux, and he's not going to miss his opportunity as he puts down some serious damage. Cruising, last member alive. He doesn't have enough time to get a medkit off. He's going to have to hit a syringe, and there's not enough time for either one of those. As you can see, he gets eaten alive by the storm. Needed to stop that battery and hit the medkit instead. Not sure if he saw his HP, but now everyone's getting griefed.
Yeah, I don't even know if he had any syringes. So either way, the timing was just already off since the medkit looked like the only thing he could work with in that moment. Lux is going to be able to get Crust back up. He has to pop a syringe before popping the medkit to fully reset. They're going to be able to get Senox to the beacon that's right above them at the very least, but they are going to take their sweet time to rotate into that circle. Luckily for them, they do have a minute and 50 seconds, so good enough time for them to restabilize before getting going. Now slept on in a fight too inside of this dome-shaped building. Sandwich, you have nowhere to run. That poor Horizon didn't even see them coming, and it was key. Razor get finished off inside of this building.
Another up-and-coming team. We've already seen what they look like in terms of what they can do in the ALGS and the qualifiers. But now we see them here in Series Z on our pro night, and hopefully is a consistent stay here for Psycho, who runs one of the more competitive Discords in Apex. If you guys don't know what he does, he helped put together a big list of players that continue to just look for games. And a big shout out to Psycho for what he's done for the community, and now has kind of risen his stock in terms of watching him play. I've been really impressed. A handful of different legends that he has in his pool as well. Now look at the mini-map. Look at this. Over towards the northern side, you could see Reptar and SCN maybe meeting up with FaZe and Mike and Ike. That battle on the north-hand side is going to be lit.
Oh, that's going to be something to watch most definitely. And with us seeing the next circle and where it's going to be pulling, look how many teams that are sharing that building right to the north of where Tripods is currently right now. They're going to engage in the fight, but if they do fully commit to this fight, you know the squads that have the high ground on that building where Dark Zero's in is going to try to take some shots from afar.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And Dark Zero's been really good at getting in position. They just haven't been able to hold their positions as much as you'd be hoping for. And granted, they do have PvP, so they're at a huge disadvantage just by having him on a team. Just kidding, PvP. But he's one of the strongest players as a coach, and I feel like that's such a cool thing to have, Vicky. Say that something, bad happens. We know that there's times where you need to have a sub. Imagine having someone that's practiced with your team, knows the ins and outs, coming in and filling that void. That's exactly what PvP is able to do tonight. As Tripods now making their move. High ground being taken from Jay. He's got the triple take. What year is it?
What year is it? Triple take, longbow. Which one am I gonna take here? Deeds backing off just a little bit, popping the Phoenix kit at the same time. I really like the placing of that Seer ult. The Arc Star is gonna hit the rock to the side, but Tripod's in a really good position to skirmish right here on the other side of this rock, because they're still inside this next circle without revealing their backs to the teams that have already taken control over the space in Cenote Caves.
And look at the patience coming in from Deeds. I mean, I would have sent this like 5 times and just slid down there and started fighting all 3 of them, but instead Deeds understands that he needs to play patient. He's backing off, waiting for more information, especially when you have Seer on your team. Wait for those scans. Figure out exactly how much shields they have. If anyone is split up, and it's smart that he didn't run into them, because look at the roster on the opposite side. The team in first place, former teammates And they're both going to respectfully back off. And a very interesting fight there. I mean, Top Gun and backing off, you don't really put those in the same sentence.
I like this decision, though. This is really smart of them to take a more passive approach because of exactly that. There's a lot of openings in this position that they could get shot with. And you have the potential chance of getting griefed by a charge rifle from meters away. It's not the chance that you want to take right here when you've secured a nice high ground spot where you can still continue the skirmish against tripods from a better position on the high ground.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you know who's probably got that charge rifle? It's Rambo, who's been locking things down for quite some time. But we can see on the player outlines exactly where one player is, kind of ratting around the corner. And it's like Designful knows exactly what's happening. But there's that Q scan that they were looking for. There goes the bait and switch happening over towards the backhand side. The flank happens as well, coming in for Chaotic. And now the push with Designful. He switches off the wingman, goes with the car instead. And the first knock going in favor of Tripods. It gets answered right back. Designful now has to go clutch with the wingman. We've seen him do it in the past. It's a 2-on-1 situation. He goes for the gold backpack res. Doesn't even elect to throw the smoke. Ballsy maneuver, but it is a 1v1. Deeds is now coming forward. They get the player up, and he's going to have to knock two players at once with just a little HP. That's not going to happen, especially with that gold knockdown shield res. Vicky, huge plays coming in from Designful.
So worth it, too, to just fully commit to the res if you have that gold knockdown. Beautiful play right there to allow Top Gun Ruster to flourish, reset real quick, get the loot that they need to get from those death boxes before moving on closer into Cenote Caves as we tune into other squads that have been playing a lot more passively, playing on the outside of the circle, playing more with a slower rotate, playing on the edge. Though you do get into a lot more skirmishes by the edge with how aggressive some of these teams have been playing with the Bloodhound and Bangalore composition, like some of the other squads that like to take that final circle position with the Watson. But this is one of those teams that are going to be able to play aggressively by the edge. They just haven't gotten involved in one of those fights yet so far in this game.
Also, everyone's flying around the map. They have to walk everywhere, Vicky. So maybe that's why it's you know, it's been a long road for Aegon by IOC. Everyone's Valkyrie everywhere, skyward dives, this and that. They just get little grab lifts, you know, little boost to fly down the hill. But this is, I agree with this playstyle. If you're playing edge, continue to play the edge. Wait for opportunities. Zone 3 is where things will start to chunk, though. So they're going to have to move forward on over towards that choke where the pings are going down. They're meeting a little bit of a resistance. And now things are going to get very interesting from their point of view. Speaking of interesting, phase in another skirmish. Snipe down, pops that Beast of the Hunt. Bangalore Rolling Thunder is going to go down. You can see that he wants to get aggressive immediately.
Oh, this is the cue now. FaZe just waiting on the opportunity, but with the Beast of the Hunt, you also get to see the other squads that want to try to continuously pressure you from afar with some of these longer range shots. FaZe now noticing that if they do try to fully commit here, they will really be out in the open minus that rock that's to their north from Snipedown currently. So with Snipedown just making the call, you know what? Yes, I use Beast of the Hunt, but I'm not going to fully commit to that team. We're in a good spot to gatekeep other squads that are rotating from the north side of Storm Point. So they just want to hold this position instead.
And I like that play from Snipedown to throw the nade. I feel like that's exactly what backed them off and made them rethink their angles, because what do you do when you're getting scanned every 7 seconds, then all of a sudden an arc star comes? It's like, dude, they know you're there. We can see you. Like, you might as well reconsider, especially when it's FaZe on the opposite side. But the presence of mind and a great call out there from you, Vicky, that he could see the rest of the players on the map. So a little bit of a spray across, heads for 14, says, hey, I see you guys as well, and back off. This is our area.
It's so good. It's something so notable here when it comes to the Bloodhound and Beast of the Hunt, because, you know, with that infra sight that you get to see, you get to notice the other players that are from afar that are either using a charge rifle that could get involved with a third party if they just want to greet you from afar here too. FaZe backing off has now allowed them to not only disengage but take a different roundabout way. He already scanned on the other side, so he doesn't have it right now, but there is that squad that's right inside. They notice that Sierra on the outside of the building, but this is a tricky spot because they could get sandwiched in this position.
Cyril ends up going down. Problem is he doesn't have the Beast of the Hunt, and he needs to pop this ult Excel, so there's really not enough time. And I like this call. This building's safe. It's outside of the Cyril. We can also see the footsteps of where players have been located. Let's just take this for now. Let me pop this ultimate Excel, and we can rethink our strategy from a better point of view where we're not forced to sit on the outside of a building directly underneath the team.
And they're playing on the outskirts here with the seer all around this building is also something very notable, preventing that team from having the information that they need to work with out here. Sentinels on the other side playing underneath one of those rocks, while Protect Cub are going to be able to play on the inside here. This is one of the teams rocking the Watts, and that's why they were able to secure this building so early, because that was their game plan here. They may not have the loot that they want to work with, but that's what farming these Evil Shields are going to do for them if they could take some of those shots on the outside of the Bangalore smokes.
Pinch coming in onto Top Gun roster, our #1 team, and unfortunately for them, it's going to be chaotic as the last player alive. He doesn't have that gold knockdown. There goes the push coming in around the corner. Top Gun roster going down. It's Aegon by AOC. A great grab lift coming in from Kicks as well. Allows them to take over towards the roof. I don't know if they noticed that there's a drone directly above them, Vicky.
Yeah, they hear it buzzing around. They can't swat it just yet right now, but their priority was getting onto the high ground. You see the charge rifle beaming Kicks before he beams them right back with the ARC 301. They got the scans as well with the Bloodhound scan right behind them to note where they could approach, who's to their backs, because that's going to be their priority when it comes to making this rotation into that next circle once it pulls and closes in behind them.
Really good plays. Immediate grab lift, sensing danger. Lux is going to get dropped. It's going to be Wizard Coin and the Mike and Ike team still picking up some kills. Cruisin's going to, or excuse me, Klane's going to come in and get the knock as well. A lot of action now happening as round 4 is where all the money's made in Apex. A lot of rosters are going to get dropped here. Multiple Seer ultimates all over the place. And hello, Snipe Down. The other team says that's going to be a quick knock. Multiple teams now playing over towards this building, Vicky. It's going to be tough to stay alive. I mean, there's at least 4 squads trying to take over this spot.
Oh, Silent was dancing on the outside of the circle, on the inside of the circle, and now with FaZe only leaving Slurp with the gold knockdown shield, there is nowhere for him to run other than in the hands of SZN, who clean up that last player, who get pinged themselves. They need to get into the safety of the high ground right here, and just like that, 10 squads left right now. We had 18 1 second ago now, Tom. Now we have 10, and the last player from Mike and I also get eliminated with Slept on taking the roof.
Can't tell if that player was lagging out or if he was in a drone. Either way, he is definitely dead. Servo's going to go and toss an Arc Star, and he's taking multiple players with him. You know, he's going full kamikaze here, Vicky.
He got taken out, but it was great because you saw the rest of SDN here, but with the Seer, Tactical coming in, it's going to cut them from trying to res. They have the information with the exhibition. Cub now comes all the way in with a flatline. He only had that blue mag right now, but a nice suppressed fire from the squad that's trying to res.
I think they were able to get the res. You can see the flank coming in over from the corner, and they are able to knock 2 SCN now on the ropes, but they take down Protectful and the Kubski squad. What a team fight. That is not an easy team to take down. The res was perfect. Everything executed to a T. Seer ultimate coming down exactly when they needed to, and they'll live to fight on another day. Hakulo has been taken down, unfortunately. They may have a mobile respawn beacon if they can actually find one. We have to go back to 100 Thieves, put one down in game number 4. But zone's moving, no more time to loot. They have to make their way. CLG's had a very quiet game. They've gotten into the zone very early, but now it's time for them to rotate as well. And look at this. They're just setting up a line of fire for when the rotation comes from SCN.
And there's been such high octane action to this game that we have to talk about the use of the Ash instead of the Raid this time around, but you portaled right into the line of sight of another team, and you don't have the option to take the portal back if you were on the Wraith instead. So hiding behind a little crevice of this rock, hopefully they can try to restabilize. It's the guard with some natural cover of the rocks and the care package to take those shots.
I'm a big fan of Ash. I think that she's a very underutilized legend. If her Q was stronger and did more when she stunned you, I feel like she would be a huge pick throughout all of that. But unfortunate that they weren't able to get all there at the same time. And not only that, guard was just sneaking. It looked like there was only one player, but it's all 3 members of the guard sitting over here using this natural cover that you mentioned, Vicky. And he still got the charge rifle Rambo for Griefer of the Year.
Yeah, but he's only got 8 bullets. We know how much ammo the charge rifle eats up when you're beaming down these players, even if you're trying to take a nice cheeky angle. Dropping more ammo, though, for his teammates, since Rambo could just fly up and above and loot everything that he needs to loot for the rest of the guards, since they've been playing patiently behind this rock. 100 Thieves also up ahead here. Dark Zero still in the safety of the little corner of what that building is. Aegon got taken out, and with 4 squads left, we have our last remaining squad still playing on the outside, each end of the circle.
It looks like you get a little confused when you see like the Ash with her sword and then the Crypt. Everyone's got a sword. You know what I'm saying? Just, what do you do when you're a Fuse main, Vicky, like you said? What's he going to get? Is he going to get like a comb brush or something like that? Maybe some, a thing of Suavecito hair gel in his hand?
It has to be something sassy. It has to be. I don't know. I just think of sassy when I think of Fuse out here. He is literally the GOAT. Dark Zero make their move finally to move in. Last 3 squads here. The Guard, 100 Thieves, and Dark Zero now trying to take the W for game number 5.
And DZ's having one of themselves a better performance that we've seen. But it's the consistency again from Guard. We were saying who's going to catch up to the roster in first place. Looks like they're poised for another solid game. 3v3v3 action here towards the final circle in game number 5. It's our first pro night of 2023. Thanks for joining us. But DZ is taking a ton of damage. Huge one clip coming in from Jen Burton. That's going to open things up for 100 Thieves. But also the push coming in for Guard on the backhand side of the building, and you can see Arcan is interested in moving forward. Keon's trying to lock him in as they charge up the stairs. Rambo's trying to punch people out as well. He's already dropped 1. That's going to be 2 potentially here if they can. Everyone's just fighting it out. They're duking out. Why shoot your guns when you can punch?
Is this a new challenge that I don't know about for the new year out here? I mean, I get the concept. He was trying to force him off the high ground there too, but then even duking things out on the stairwell. Can he get through here, though, is the question. With the circle closing in, his exit is already off the table. He needs to try to force his way through the Watson fences, and that's basically a checkmate. But he's low, but can he do it through the door? He can do it through the window. Oh, no, he hits the wall. He has to go through the fence line.
He's getting stuck. He's stuck inside. It doesn't matter. 100 Thieves takes that one. What if they win because he had the knockdown shield at the door? That's as intense as it gets. Second clenching moment of the night. What a game. What a finish. 100 Thieves taking game number 5.
The mix-up to no mix-up. When you try to toss the bracelet, it didn't work out for you, and you saw the Guard get ready in case the bracelet came out from behind them, when lo and behold, they had to still go in through the doorway.
That was as exciting as an ending as you're going to get. We basically had everything involved in there. Some sick shots, little boxing match, a little bit of a fail, Shackton of Fools happening over there too. But still, great points coming in from the Guard. Even though they don't win that game, still makes this fight for first place that much more interesting.
Yeah, I always love to see it out here with 100 Thieves taking the W. Look at this out here. Anmu and Convicted Criminal. 1,500 damage apiece out here, and with some great KP to work with as well.
Good thing Vaxon was able to get outside of the building, because that could have been an absolute disaster for 100 Thieves. But we've seen them slowly but surely work their way back in to playing at the level we know that they can, because this team has a very high ceiling. They've tried a handful of different compositions in the past. For a while, they were sticking with what they did at Raleigh, North Carolina at the championships, which was Valkyrie, Newcastle, and Watson. Now they're switching things up. It's still a playstyle where you get inside of the zone and pick priority positions. They're not going to just completely throw out their strengths, but they've gotten off the Watson. They've went with Loba instead because they're realizing that they need loot. And then they're, deciding, okay, let's stick with Valkyrie. Let's get these EMPs going off. And I like that for 100 Thieves. Again, I think that Series E is all about testing things out, trying new things, and practicing your butt off. That's exactly what 100 Thieves is doing.
And with a change up too, we, like you mentioned, between the Newcastle, changing things up, just getting more with the Loba as well. I like the different playstyles that 100 Thieves are going for, and denying the 2-time win from the Guard after they won game number 1. Let's also over to Ye so to see his thoughts after game number 5 was over.
That second win of the day, still just escaping the Guard. There's 100 Thieves grab the victory, and RKN doing a lot of great things in that final circle. Great job of keeping Scurry gated inside of the building. Meant that Scurry was going to have to fight the zone there and likely go down before being able to jump in that fight. So RKN was able to strategically earn himself that 1v1 in the end, but just wasn't quite able to finish it off, and the Guard fall there in second place. And 100 Thieves just with a good job of kind of dancing nimbly around the different levels of that building, earning those early knocks onto the Guard amidst all of the chaos, and it helps set them up for the win. Let's take a look at our Mobile One high performance moment, and it's the fight that actually just precedes the end of the game. It's the chaos here with Dark Zero, and then the third party push in here from the Guard, and 100 Thieves there on the assist, and it very quickly cleans up that fight there for Dark Zero, and now you get a bit of this stalemate with the smokes down, the guard trying to find some sort of opening, trying to get in here onto 100 Thieves to do some work, and unfortunately Rambo going for the fisticuffs there, and it doesn't pay off. They do get the one knock there onto Onmu, but that's it, and the 2 knocks in return here for 100 Thieves. Very key there. Scurry able to get that sight lane up over the top of the stairs to get that knock onto Keon, then set everything up for the eventual 1v1 win up against Arcane, and 100 Thieves grabbing the victory. But just a good job here of 100 Thieves kind of getting those quick little peeks, finding those sight lines, getting in on the action while Dark Zero was still alive, and then just good coordinated team fire to deal with the guard when they went for the push. And with Keon going down, 100 Thieves really had everything that they needed to finish off that game and grab a win. Let's take a look at our Mobile One leaderboard and see where things sit. We talked at the end of Game 4 on whether that consistency from the guard or the high highs we've seen from Top Gun roster would win out tonight. And as of right now, the guard go into our final game back in first place. 70 points total for the squad so far today, but Top Gun roster as close as they can be, just a point behind there at 69, and 100 Thieves with that nice win now jump up into that top 3. CLG and MPS still stuck down there right around that 40-point threshold, so it looks like it's really going to be these 3 squads, and it's really going to be the guard and Top Gun roster. 100 Thieves could have a huge performance. It is not out of the realm of possibility, but with how good the guard have been tonight, it really seems like it is their competition to lose. If they can get another one of those top 3 performances, they should be feeling very comfortable about their shots to win tonight, and at the very least finish in the top 2. We'll see if Top Gun roster can have that bounce back here in the final game of the day. We're headed to a break right now. When we come back, it's our final game here for our first pro night of 2023.
Welcome back, everyone, to week 4, our first pro night of the year of 2023. I'm so excited to be joining T-Squared with all the action that we've seen so far between 100 Thieves, trying out the Loba, finding all the rewards that they could find. They also, at one point, I believe, they had access to black market that had no loot in it. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before, but they finished in first place with 10 KP to their name. That game 5 was crazy in Cenote Caves, and now we have 1 game left for the night team.
Black market with no loot in it. I call that a bad, ult. bad placement, man. Absolute throw. Has no idea what he's doing. Has he even ever played this game before is the real question. No, great job from 100 Thieves, really, and making things a lot more competitive as we move into our final game. I can't wait to see who's going to walk away with that money.
Yeah, it's going to be great to also see the way that some of these other teams have been experimenting with different approaches or actually sticking to what they feel more comfortable. For the teams like the Guard that are trying things to be more consistent in LAN, so they are able to make that first split playoff. So it's going to be great to see how game number 6 goes down here on Storm Point. We had great diversity already for the last 2 circles that we saw on both game 4 and game 5. We had one that was rather northwest circle, and then now we had one of those southwest circles with Cenote Caves.
Yeah, let's see a wall circle. I think those are one of my favorite ones too, because there's just so much action that you can get, and there's a little bit of bait and switch that happens underneath that bridge. I've thrown a handful of games over towards that zone, so I feel like I know what not to do. All right, I may not know exactly what to do, but I know what not to do in those situations. I'm sure our players do too. All right, Vicky, here's the question: who wins this all? Do you think that it's going to be Top Gun? Is it going to be Guard? Is it another team that we haven't mentioned?
I think the safe option is to say the Guard, and that's just because not only have they been more consistent than Top Gun roster, even though Top Gun roster has gotten 2 Ws with double-digit KP to their name. I'd say the Guard because if Top Gun roster still play as aggressive as they have been, there's still an opportunity that a third, fourth party could move in and then wipe them out after they came on top from a fight. The Guard, you already know, they're going to loot and go, sit in final circle positioning, and they're not going to be moving for the entirety of the game. So it's a much safer approach to what they could secure themselves as the final dub of the day.
And then what team is going to win this game? Is it going to be one of those 2 teams, or is it another squad? You know what I want to see? I mean, I'm not supposed to root for anybody, but I want to see this new CLG roster do really well with the crazy comps and the crazy picks that they're doing. Ash being picked again here, Vicky.
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing from CLG. I like this change up, of course. Alberlily making his move to playing alongside the rest of the CLG squad out here too. We saw the Wraith, we see the Ashe, we see the benefits of both Ashe and Wraith, of course, trying to get into high ground, but not having the ability to portal your way out once you already use that Q with your Ashe. So 100 Thieves now as we tune into the squad that just took game number 5. Again, I really like the way that they've been experimenting with different things, with the Loba as well, changing things up away from the Newcastle when they're trying things out on Storm Point. Always very enjoyable to see how 100 Thieves can handle this, as they're going to be able to split drop real quick on this POI, so that way they can secure the loot that they need.
Yeah, you can see how fast they're trying to move and get some loot, fighting a blue armor over here. You know, everyone's favorite start is the P20 Mozambique, right? I mean, just such great guns inside of this building. Looks like a little bit of a Pathfinder pick coming in from the Top Gun roster, and they're going down. No. They're going to challenge Guard over towards the side of the map, and they're going to get dropped. I like it. If you're going to fight for first place, just fight for it immediately.
That was the most Top Gun thing that they could have done too. Like, that just fits entirely into their playstyle. They said, we know the Guard ain't gonna bring the beef to us, so we gotta bring the beef to them. The only one walking away with the Slim Jim though is gonna be Guard, and that's the beef that they're gonna be able to win after that fight here. That's still gonna be able to secure their positioning also in first place, depending on how our other teams like 100 Thieves and CLG do. CLG and 100 Thieves though are gonna have one heck of a game, though, if they want to contest the Guard after their consistency in the top 3s that we've seen them in.
Look at this zone. No man's land. I like that, though. You know, have some fun with it, Vicky. It's 2023. Oh, yeah. We don't have to be so serious anymore. All right, let's get back to business, and let's talk about this. No, I'm just kidding. But I like that. I think that's a fun way to go about that final game right there. Land on Guard. Send it to them. If it doesn't work out, they got lucky, or they just know how to land over there. Whatever. It shows what you're made of. I like that, Top Gun.
I agree. Because, you know, it also shows their confidence that 100 Thieves and CLG won't take them out of that top
coming in
3.
from FaZe. They're going to be continuing to improve week after week. I think that this is definitely a squad to watch out for. And CLG still going with the composition that they had before. So every single team is playing something different. Like I guess some of the legends that we haven't seen kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. We don't have time to talk about that. Tripods, though, in a fight. It's going to be ESA. This is the team that they fought 50-50 last time. It looks like they have a little bit of advantage, right? They're going to be able to get this knock. Plus, they can bait the res if they wanted to. So this is a great opportunity to eliminate ESA, and they do 2 times in a row. Will we see some tactical crouching?
Looks like they're more focused on just resetting instead, actually. And that's the confidence that I always love to see here from the Tripods, especially after winning another 50-50 contention spot in Cenote Case. 100 Thieves now trying to 3-2-1 that flare flying right around them. A grenade getting tossed in Onmu's direction forces him to back away just in time to reset. He goes in for the shield swap before popping the med kit. Make sure that this squad doesn't also reset in time, but they're the ones kind of sticking out like a sore thumb when it comes to the skirmish because they're playing behind the bunker doors, which has that animation once you swing them open.
Thieves has to pick up some points here if they want to take over second place. Remember, Top Gun was just eliminated. They've already picked up that 1 KP that we just saw. It's a matter of getting them to a really good spot and trying to get those placement points. That's what 100 Thieves is all about. And Amu, one of the greatest IGLs that we have in Apex. Just love listening to how he commands his team. And they have like kind of micro, skirmishes that are consistently happening. And Amu doesn't make all of the calls. They all kind of trust each other. But when it comes to position, that's what he specializes in. Slept on now in a fight over towards the gravity lift. And you can see 999 is taking a lot of damage. But he's got the gold armor, Vicky, and he wants to play aggressive. Great Newcastle wall, though, sends him right back.
And that's the risk sometimes here, too. It's about knowing that team comp, if it was slept on, they get taken out. And it's MPS also moving in with the Newcastle. Changing up the look of what we're used to seeing with the 100 Thieves is MPS still rocking the Newcastle and the Loba on top of that. And then, of course, with the rotations, they got the Valkyrie that we've been seeing as that mainstay legend on all the other team comps. When we take a look at Season now, you see the smoke grenades landing on one of the players across the field. With the wingman, though, Klein is just going to take a different off angle to see if they can try to get more of a spread out to actually acknowledge where the other players are.
And also, a digi threat on that wingman would be huge if you can go and find it. I'm still waiting for the time where everyone recognizes, okay, there's a digi threat inside of the crafter. Let's just switch our game plan up and go with Bangalore. That would be huge for certain scenarios. SCN has had a lot of good games so far, but hasn't been able to pick up a dub that they've been looking for. A lot of times they find themselves in the final circle, but in a second or third place as we see what FaZe is up to. Double gold armors for the controller squad. They're ready to full send.
Oh, they mean business, and they're looking to get involved quickly. And with that crack, you could expect FaZe to already enter their way into the building. Here comes Snipe Down, busting down that door with his legs. And now he's going to be able to try to put in some of the extra damage, leaving his poor blood out inside of the building alone before Naughty goes in for the follow-up.
Crazy Ninja. We've seen him a lot of times. Unfortunately, he's been ratting it out, a majority of them. Now everyone is on the run, but you can't run from the Bloodhound. Snipe Down smelling your tracks, and he's continuing to follow up what he started. It's going to be the Horizon Black Hole on over towards the door. Good Thermite just buying some time, but the rest of the squad is going to be able to find exactly where he is after a good scan coming through. They have to clean this up pretty quickly. They have to be aware of any third parties that are happening. King Drew, he's going to get dropped, and now FaZe is going to completely reset.
This is great for the way that FaZe has been playing today. They've been able to kick things up a notch, play a lot more aggressively than what we're used to seeing when it comes to FaZe in the Pro League here. Season did get a whiff of the fight happening between FaZe right underneath them, and they're looking to get involved themselves. Hakulo's got the 3 times on the G7, and being on Seer, he's going to be able to check his 6 to make sure no other squad is trying to come in to fourth party this.
Just taking their time for now. Yeah, Snipe Down's on top of this, and they're going to be pretty upset once they see the armor situation on the other side over here. I mean, Hakulo could eventually hit a Q, but at this point, you really want to save that for when you do actual damage onto somebody, and big damage happens onto Klein. They have to cross all this open area, but they didn't smoke it out accordingly.
Now FaZe having to back up. You see Naughty throwing down the Rolling Thunder at the same time, making sure no other squad gets involved. That's their insurance policy here while he throws on the smoke right at his feet. gets on top of the roof to see and assess where the other squad is. As they are outside of the Cyril, the little ping from the Rolling Thunder is going to let Naughty know what direction they're going to approach from.
Yeah, I believe that was a tick onto the Seer ultimate too, so now he knows where the Seer ultimate exactly is. I feel like it should just have a giant beam coming out of it like the Luxor in Vegas or something like that. I'm not a fan, to say the least, but definitely want to have one on your team. But if you can't beat them, join them, is what I always say. As you can see now, FaZe is going to continue to hunt these players down. I mean, I think they understood, all right, we have the armor advantage. It's the final game. We're playing to practice our team fights anyway. Let's take as many as we humanly can. And even though we have the player outlines, they don't really have the exact spot on where these players are. But big shots coming in. The beam from Snipe down. Unfortunately, I don't think the rest of the team was on the page. Oh, so close.
Oh, he still hit him for flash a little bit, so that team is going to be in a lot of trouble. It's Reptar, actually. Talked about him a little bit. They're going to be landing on the outside of where we see the Watson fences been by the Prowler Den, but they're going to be able to secure themselves inside this building without any contention, while Reptar's just going to heal up safely.
I feel like that's always me on the team, Vicky. What about you? Like, it's like out of all three players, I'm the one that gets shot
Always.
9 times out of 10. I see my teammates, they're just big chilling, and then like I get shot and no one breaks off of me. You guys know that when you're getting shot, you have to split off of the 3 people and go in your own separate ways, right?
And then you think that you're out of position, but like you're side by side when you're already on the ground with your other teammates, and yet you're still the only one getting pinged out when you're between both your teammates. Sometimes you just can't win out here. But you know what? Gotta take the L. You know, gotta reset if you can. Hopefully, you're not the one that gets griefed.
Facts. As we see the zone, DZ setting up in a pretty good spot. You can see where the rest of the squads are congested over towards where that Loba ultimate is, directly in the middle. The one team to kind of look out for would be Kupski and his squad over towards the northern side, and then Guard and their squad over towards the southern side, doing a little bit of gatekeeping, waiting for teams to rotate through. You can see 2 partnered teams on 100 Thieves are going to come that way shortly.
Yeah, with the circle being around Shubi here too, you can see the beacon right on top of his feet. That's going to be contested too. Tripods inside of the armory is also very interesting. We've sometimes seen the circle actually end up by that choke point that the Guard will be eventually approaching from. But the Guard's positioning is also really good here because this will allow them to also gatekeep the next squads for that next circle while being outside of the fray of where all the other squads are coming in from the north side of this next circle.
Big skyward dive as we switch on over to Sentinels, who's had themselves a pretty decent day overall. Really impressed with everything that Lux brings to the table on this squad. As you see, it's going to be Wizard Coin taking a lot of damage for Team Micah. Where are these shots coming from? It's directly in front of him. Black Hole goes down, but not as fast as the entire team from Mike and Ike just gets demolished. DZ says, thank you very much. We'll take those kill points.
They got, I blinked and they were gone. That was how quick Dark Zero were able to clean up Mike and Ike. Fortunate for them, here's, they fall in 14th place for a final game. 100 Thieves with the Skyward Dive are going to be able to fly onto the high ground. Surprised there were no other squads here already, but I mean, with the circle closing into their back, those squads already are on that quick rotate. You can see the missile swarm coming in. They see a block market on the inside, but they're going to have to drop down eventually.
That's exactly what they're doing. Right on cue, Vicky, as Amu moves in. But Scurry's like, all right, I'm out. You guys got this, right? And he's like, all right, thanks, man. This is still round 2, 12 squads remaining. It's been a very fast-paced final game. It's typically how it always goes in the final moments. Everyone understanding how many points they actually need. They can still eat the storm damage if they absolutely need to. It's not going to tick that hard, as Razor's been the team that's gatekeeping them the entire time. But they have them split, so let's see what Razor's going to be able to do here.
Washi moving over to the other side. See a flying Valkyrie up in the air. Actually, that was a Horizon. You see Borden getting the knock with the charge rifle. 100 Thieves being on the other side right now as Team Tyson also get eliminated currently too. 11 squads left in this lobby. Washi trying to just get a piece of the action, preventing that Loba from scurrying away with the bracelet.
Flashbacks of when Loba couldn't get through the window in the previous game as SCN gets eliminated. And hello, someone's on top of the hill, and that's going to be Amu getting dropped almost immediately. Razor's been hunting 100 Thieves down the entire time, and they're just so split right now. It makes it so difficult to find exactly what the rest of the team is doing. Has to be frustrating for Amu just to be up on top of there by himself, just completely away from the rest of the squad. But nice awareness from Razor. They, again, in competition with the rest of our partnered squads. If you're not familiar with how Series E works, there's an accumulative leaderboard that happens throughout the entire season for all of our partnered squads. Those teams that finish over towards the top of the leaderboard, they make it to the next season. The other teams have to fight through the relegation process.
I like how you highlight that, especially with the KP that Razor's cleaning up right here and Barometer just leaving Scurry to actually just fend for themselves. I do believe the guard is up ahead, which was where we saw the charge rifle take shots at Razor. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it is going to be the guard, and I do think Rambo may have that charge rifle. You mentioned it before. Rambo obviously always using that gun. Actually, no, he doesn't. He's got the G7, but he does usually like to favor that weapon. The guard playing on the outside have already secured themselves with the Watson fences inside of this building. But they're going to have to get moving in the next 30 seconds because it's not inside the circle. But they're at least trying to keep pressuring out this squad, which is Team Razor, that are just going to have to start rotating away from Barometer eventually.
Yeah, and Rambo's trying to land that shot because you can see how close he is. 76 to getting that shield charged up to red, and that's big going into these circles here when things start to close down as we switch out over to FaZe, find out what they're up to. Watson fence in the middle of the open. Scan coming through, but they have a scan of their own. Rolling Thunder happens, and it's a exact mimic and mirror of their team composition, so looks like Naughty's going to back off, and that was a really good Rolling Thunder. That thing separated Slurp from the rest of the team. Smoke's going to happen. That's going to be the gold shield getting charged right back up. Big 80 damage coming in from the Rolling Thunder that Naughty tossed out, and there's also 3 players on a rock while they're getting pinched from behind. Great positioning here from FaZe.
Naughty's smokes today have been so on point. Sentinels get cleaned up. Slurp also able to scoop one of those up. The KP going in their favor. Aegon by AOC, one of our other Series E teams, now just trying to close in the gap with the smoke grenade of their own. See the Digi threat in Force's hands. See the squad now dropping down from the high ground. Orioles has to drop down himself. He's playing with the Beast of the Hunt activated from underneath the bridge before it wears out. And before that gravity lift comes in, he is going to be able to take some shots with that car.
And he was a little sad that the gravity lift went away, but hey, he got delivered a kill from someone that ended up dropping over towards the high ground because his teammates were already up there, and that's Razor going down. You see the zones directly in front of him, so no reason to worry about taking some damage from behind. They should be able to outrun that, and they do, as the scan hits coming in from Orioles, and they realize they're going to be safe for now. One more player does exist on the team. That's where the pings are happening. Now the flight taking place for guard. They're going to meet up with DZ very shortly, and that east side is going to see a lot of action. You have FaZe over there. You have Cubsky, Protectful, and Avix. MPS. Aegon by AOC over towards the southern side. And Scurry ratting things out for his squad. He was able to live and get away from Team Razor.
Dark Zero in such a good spot here, too. They've been holding on to this side for a long time. Look, they even pulled up with a Trident for some extra makeshift cover. They've been literally chilling here, and Dark Zero are not going to give up this high ground too. This is a great positional advantage for them to continue down putting in the pressure, especially to the likes of the guard who are also inside of this next circle. I'm pretty sure that's who Dark Zero are taking some shots on, but with them patiently waiting by right here, they're not going to have to move anytime soon, and they're going to be able to see the other squads that are rotating on the edge of the circle.
You see Jen Burton not able to connect on those scout shots, but again, just let those things rip. Even when we see some of the best players in the world, and Jen Burton definitely one of those, you're not going to be able to hit every shot, but you don't let that get to you. Just keep letting that thing fly, especially with these single shot weapons. And woof, the R301 with the anvil just hits different sometimes.
I was so happy when they brought back the anvil receiver out here too.
Same.
See, Dark Zero still on the high ground out here. Just going to be waiting patiently. They have the Seer ult ready. Circle is going to be closing in the next 10 seconds, so not going to get ahead of themselves while seeing where the other squads are going to be rotating from.
It just makes weapons like the Flatline and R301 so much more valuable when you have the long-range scopes on them. If you can get that 2, 3, 2, 4, heck, you could even lay down the red dot fire, but being able to conserve your ammo and not have to let that thing rip from long range and being able to single fire, it just does so much damage. It almost hits harder than the scout in certain instances. It's very, very impressive in terms of the damage output they're able to do. Plus the ability to charge your Evo shield up in late game scenarios as phases. Putting some fire on towards the players in the air on that skyward dive, showcasing that they can't land over towards where we're at because we're locking this thing down. The big wingman shots coming in from Naughty. Rolling Thunder over towards the side. Smokes, you called him out, Vicky, have been so impressive overall, but there's just so many teams in the area. DZ from the high ground. Gent gets involved. MPS gets involved as well, and a little bit too late on that rotation as we see the Kings of the Hill, DZ, trying to win their first game of the night.
And this is what I mean by the position that DZ's holding. And yeah, they're not in the next circle, but look at these shots with the G7. He doesn't even need the purple extended light mag out here. This is a G7 we're talking about. He puts in the beamage, but he doesn't get the knock exactly. They're going to be scooting their way down the hill, and with this advantage on the health being in their favor, they're going to try to see if they can wrap behind the guard so that way they can take their place instead before Keon actually heals up.
This is why having a poke weapon is so important. You need to be able to push players off. You try to get this pick potential, the kill potential. Also, conserving ammo in certain instances, so important, as we see RKN, who unfortunately doesn't have an anvil. If he had one on that flatline, he'd be able to do the same thing. But look at the positioning from the guard. They've always done this throughout the day. You can see Keon laying down some shots with the bow check. He's going to be in a great spot over here. But this is what's been so impressive from the guard. A lot of layers in their game, Vicky. I mean, when it comes to team fighting, check. When it comes to locking down positions, check. End game, check. Everything that you need to do as a squad, they have everything under wraps. And right now, it's tripods directly in their sights.
And Tripod's another team that finds themselves in the end circle a lot of the times too. Nick Merckx rolling up with the Trident for some extra cover. He takes a lot of damage, but again, it's worth it just to inch their way closer into that next circle. If they don't, they're basically out in the open of these waters in the line of sight of Guard and the line of sight of Dark Zero. So they're doing what they could do best right now. We got 5 squads left. We know where Tripods is. We know where the Guard is. We know where Dark Zeros is. And we know where Protect Cub is.
Tripod, surprisingly, is still inside of the zone over here. When you saw the way that they were getting cover fired on from the opposite side, you thought maybe they weren't. As a big fight taking place for MPS, you can see that they have Protect Cub on the opposite side of the boxes. Big shots landing from both players as Shuby's going to take over towards the high guard. He started off on Pathfinder. He's ending on Valkyrie, and they end in 4th place. Tripods picking up some kills. Jet, now your new kill leader. And can Tripods pick up a big dub? They have another team directly in their sights. That is Guard. Is that enough points for Guard to take over first? It's DZ versus Tripods for the win of the final game.
Shows you how strong that position that DZ held in was right now. Tripods have the health advantage. They're moving away back. Jet in the line of sight and out of the range of the Seer ult 2. Great news here for Tripods to work by the Geek Cannon at the same time. They have some great natural cover that the cannon provides.
Nick Merckx does have a little low on HP, but it doesn't matter. Mystery Sub's the first one to go down. Now it's all about taking your time. Nick Merckx puts down some damage. He's going to bait and switch with Deeds. Bravlift comes in for Jet. Great use of the knockdown shield from the enemy team. Jet Burton's the last one alive. It doesn't matter. Tripods, Game 6 winners, and they did it in style. Looked like they were a little bit rocky on the rocks, literally, but they come back and they just use great teamwork to overcome the position.
That was beautiful positioning to use what was left of the natural terrain and the gravity cannon to the right as natural cover to play ring around the Rosie against Dark Zero, who were feeling themselves after not only taking care of the guard, they were pressuring out the other teams from the high ground for a really long time. But even better that the Tripods were still able to persevere, put in the Trident just for some extra cover, and while Dark Zero was so fixated on the guard, they used that opportunity to close in the gap and clean up what was left of the squads out in the corner that had to fight from the outside of the next circle.
Really impressive. And again, Tripods shows up every single week. They've been practicing. They practice together in ranked. Really shows off right there. When there's a lot on the line for other teams in terms of potentially making it into the top 3, Tripods didn't really stand a chance of getting into that area, but they stuck it in there with the best of them, going toe-to-toe with DZ, back-to-back LAN champions, and they walk away with a big win. It's always nice to end the tournament on a win, and that's exactly what Tripods was thinking.
And what's nice is that before this game, I believe Tripods was in the overall standings 8th with 31 points. So, you know, this is a great W and also something for them to look back on to figure out what they did differently this game versus the other games where they were in the end game, but weren't reaping the same rewards that they were able to reap at the end game for this final game here for today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Whether it was the circle, the positioning, the weapon choice, the communication, there's so much to go back and look at for the VODs. And I think that's a great point. Again, that's what Series E is all about. Going toe-to-toe with the best of them here in North America, figuring out where you can make your improvements, trying different things when you need to. They've stuck with that composition. Tripods knows how they want to play. Other teams may be trying to figure things out. Again, there's a lot of roster shuffles that were taking place. But one thing's for sure, hey, pro week, pro day here for Apex Legends in 2023. The first day, Vicky, it did not disappoint.
No, it did not. And I'm so glad I was able to take everybody through the action alongside with T-Squared. It's been a really great time to be back here for Series E. I know it's been a while, but it's always so nice to be around familiar faces out here in the Apex Legends competitive community.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Next time you gotta let me know you're rocking your jersey. We can like wear competitive jerseys and kind of go at it, duke at it, and see who we're rooting for, because our partner teams, hey, they showed up today. They didn't get the dubs that they were looking for, but we saw a lot of hope for these squads.
Absolutely. And you know what? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a great time so far, and it was so fantastic to cast alongside you again, T-Squared. I know it's been a really long time, but for now, I gotta say and bye to Yeso. I'm gonna throw it down to him so that way he can wrap up the thoughts after the action that we just saw for our final game. Thank you guys.
Big thank you to Vicky and Tom there, T-Squared. They crushed it tonight on the cast. So much fun to see you both. And I feel like no better way to kick off 2023 Apex Legends than hearing you both bring us 6 games of awesome action here on Pro Night. It was a blast, and Tripods end the night with a pretty clean victory there. Good fight against Dark Zero in the end. I thought Dark Zero did a really good job in the fight against the guard. Pretty decisive victory there. And then I think they did a really good job of coming off of the bridge early and really denying Tripods from gaining some ground there and closing that gap. It was a really proactive approach there from Dark Zero, but unfortunately they weren't able to get that early knock on Gent as Gent was retreating. And then just a great little beam there from Nick Merckx set up the numbers advantage, and Tripods do a good job of finishing things off there. Let's jump though into our final Mobile 1 high performance moment here of the night, and it might just be this finish from Tripods, and it is. After being able to retreat here, good damage there through the smoke, and now Tripods are set up and they're just fine. And here is the peek from Nick Merckx that gets the knock on a mystery sub, and as soon as it comes through the kill feed, Tripods slam that go button. All 3 players immediately pushing up. Even around that knock shield, they're able to get the knock onto Sharky here, and they clean up this final kill to grab number 11 and the win. And this is just a really good job here from Tripods, hitting good early shots right around the pills, even through the smoke. Gent able to get some solid damage, and then it's just a beautiful peek here from Nick to take down Mystery Sub, and then immediate follow-up from both Deeds and Gent, and they absolutely wipe out the rest of the squad. So just a very clean finishing fight from Tripods and a well-earned win at the end of the day. Now I'm very curious, you heard Vicky mentioning it coming into that last game, right around 30 points there for Tripods. Let's see where they finish on our Mobile 1 leaderboard as we check out who finishes at the top. They were wondering if the guard had done enough, and they did more than enough. Top Gun roster actually not picking up any points in that final game, so the guard hit 87 and take home the win. Meanwhile, the Tripods jump up to tie Sentinels there at 42 points for 7th place. So overall, an all right night from the Tripods, a really good finish and some things to work on. But the story tonight is the guard's consistency winning out in the end. But hats off to Top Gun roster. Those game 3 and 4 performances were incredible. Big reason why they are there inside of that top 2. And we'll have to see if maybe the partnered squads can learn some things from tonight and come back next week and challenge these pros even harder. Hell of a way to kick off the new year here, folks, and so excited to be back with Series E action once again. It was a pleasure to join you all here today and bring you this wonderful show. Do want to remind you again, we've got more Series E going on this week. Guilty Gear Strive tomorrow night, as well as Multiverses on Friday, so don't miss all of that. Again, that action kicks off at 4 p.m. Pacific time right here at twitch.tv/esports arena. If you're looking for more info on Series E, head over to esportsarena.com. And if you're looking to purchase products and support us here at Series E from all of our partners, head over to walmart.com/esports arena. That is it for me and everybody here. For myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and we will see you again tomorrow.